where you can hear banter like this with sports and interviews. Hear us on the RTF Sports Network, Mondays at 8 Eastern. Also, like our page on RTF Sports Network and check us out at rtfsportsnetwork.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Are you ready? I said, are you ready? You're rocking with the heavyweight champs of sports talk.
Don't act like you're not impressed.
Brandon Way and Brandon Rudolph.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
Tune in to Opinionated Facts, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. on the RTF Sports Network. And we're back again every Sunday at 12 noon on Facebook Live.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Only on the Opinionated Facts Facebook page, presented by TCP Network.
Are you looking for some sports talk with some New York flair? Join us next at the 2 p.m. hour with Down to the Wire with your host, Earl Marks.
In times of need, this is what most insurance sounds like.
What's your policy number?
But insurance with AAA sounds like this.
Is everyone okay?
See the difference at AAA.com/insurance.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Time to rise and grind.
Are you kidding me? Holy on smoke!
And let's get this banter going.
It's bacon!
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Does anybody else feel like a fried egg?
And it begins now.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell,
I think I just broke my chair.
He did what?
Has anybody ever told you you have a serious impulse control problem?
There is but one cause for me to follow. Almighty the bum!
And here we go.
Oh, yeah!
Good morning and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Snowman in the Morning across all of our great networks. Glad to have you with us. The best sports talk show you haven't heard of until now. Follow us on social media by punching in SNW Digital Media. That's SNW Digital Media for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and Pinterest. And you can log on to snowmaninthemorning.com for all of our great conversations, as well as Snowman Digital Media for all of our great shows produced by Snowman Digital Media. The podcast version of the show will be available 1/2 hour. It's usually an hour, but it's chopped in half now because I got some great producers behind me. But 1/2 hour after this show is completed, you can hear the podcast version of this show. And to kick off this Tuesday, I thought I'd have a little fun. But this, and I don't want to take lightly anyone who is suffering from coronavirus or who has contracted the coronavirus. I don't want to take it lightly. Please don't take it lightly. This is serious. This is very, very serious. And we want you all to take care of yourselves. But I'm going to have a little fun with this, and I'm going to liken it to when you would be sick as a kid and you would like stay home from school, or you'd have a chance to stay home from school. In fact, I'll turn it into a question of the day. Let's begin with the question of the day, shall we? Let's begin with the question of the day. And again, not taking coronavirus lightly at all. Not taking it lightly at all. But doesn't this feel like you were sick from school, and if you are sick and you have to go to work, please stay home. Okay, please stay home and get well. I want to hammer that home. But you get home, you're at home, and you're like, what do I do? How do I get through this sick day? Well, for me, growing up in the 70s and the 80s, of course, sports, which is what this show is all about for the most part, but anyone who knows me or knows of me, and I got a few of my old friends that I went to high school with and a few that I went to grammar school with who know me, they know I also love game shows. And there were so many game shows in the 70s and the 80s Of course, Jeopardy came along or was revived in 1984. It was on the air, I believe, for 10 years, from 68 to 78. Art Fleming. Yes, Art Fleming was the host of that. Of course, the Newlywed Game, but that was an adult show. You watch that in the evenings. But you got Match Game, you got The Joker's Wild, you got Tic-Tac-Toe, and of course you got The Price is Right, the Bob Barker version of The Price is Right, Hollywood Squares, Password, Let's Make a Deal, and Let's Make a Deal and The Price is Right are both on the same network right now, which of course is CBS. But there is one little game. There's one game show that was on the air from 1983 to 1986, and I want to see if y'all remember it. Does anybody remember a game show called Press Your Luck? Well, what you may not know is that Press Your Luck was actually preceded in 1977 by a game called Second Chance. And I'll use that theme to take us to our first break. But Second Chance was on for one season, and with Second Chance, it's the same premise. It's the same premise as Press Your Luck. If you watch Press Your Luck, you know what the deal is. The squares would light up, and if you stopped on a dollar amount or a prize, you were credited with that prize. But in 1977 with Second Chance, if you landed on a devil, you lose everything. Now, with Press Your Luck, it's a whammy, okay? And anybody remembers the whammy, and unfortunately that's the one sound I do not have in my files. And I didn't do a good job of putting all my sounds together. But there was a little red creature that would do different things. A lawnmower, a genie. What else? He would say, "Give me all you got, I'll knock it out of the park." Baseball whammy, a basketball whammy. Of course, they had a football one. He would say, "I'm open, throw me the bomb," and it would literally be a bomb, and he would blow up. That would be so funny. And the one that my mother turned me on to, my mom and my dad, premiered in 1984, and it was a whammy in the form of Michael Jackson. I mean, with the sequence jacket, the one glove, and everything. And they used the tune of Billie Jean, and they would have I can't do this without sounds, and unfortunately my sound base is down at the current time. But what I'm going to do later on this week, I'm going to revisit this subject of Press Your Luck, and I'm going to play some of those whammy sounds for you. I promise. I'm going to do that later in the week. But that's our question of the day. How do you cope with the coronavirus pandemic? What are you doing to keep a smile on your face? And what are you doing to keep a smile on others' faces? Those are our questions of the day. Lots to get into. Desmond Johnson scheduled to join me Transition Tuesday with Russ Williams and a fellow named CJ DeSimone, who's a big-time Jets fan. And I had a chance to be on Weapons Hot, on his podcast, Weapons Hot. And I'm going to tease him mercilessly with my impression of Joe Beningo if my voice holds up. So sit back, relax, and strap it down. It's another edition of Snowman in the Morning, and it really gets started in a deuce.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
Welcome back to the program, and thank you for joining us. Let me bring in William Morgan. I haven't had him on in a while. And William, what in the world is going on here?
No idea, man. just some tough times that we're going on. But
yep.
I believe if we stand together, we can get through it.
All right, let's get to it. I had some people tell me, and you're going to love this, that because of the pandemic that has hit our country, LeBron will not get his 4th ring. I actually had someone tell me, I'm dead serious. I had someone tell me that. I led off the show with this, but I wanted to get, as I smile wickedly, I wanted to get your thoughts on it, because this is ridiculous, this is stupid, and this is people trying to look through rose-colored glasses, in my opinion.
Well, you also know that people are saying that this has something to do with Donald Trump's impeachment, too, which is just utterly ridiculous.
I've heard that, too.
Oh, my goodness, man. Utterly ridiculous. Look, an NBA season can be made up.
Yep.
And if it's in the cards for LeBron to win a 4th, it will happen. Don't sit here and blame a pandemic or something that's taking people, loved ones away from us, and trivializing it to something like, this is keeping LeBron from winning his 4th ring. You are classless for saying that. You're an idiot for saying that. And, you know, it's just ridiculous to either put that with something on much of a small scale as LeBron winning a 4th ring.
I know you've heard that. I know you've heard that complaint. I know I'm not the only one that's heard that complaint.
You're not the only one. I have heard that, and that's ridiculous.
It is.
That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous because when you break it down, when you break it down, LeBron wasn't even leading his team in statistical categories except assists. That was Anthony Davis.
Yep.
And if you think about it, you want to hear something real ridiculous? Anthony Davis has not been even mentioned in the MVP conversation.
Nope. Not at all. Not at all. It's crazy. It's just ridiculous to put something that has taken away, something that has crippled America and trivializing it to something that goes in a sports event. That's asinine. That's stupid. And a season can be made up.
Yes.
And if a 4th trophy, a 4th title is in the cards for LeBron, it'll happen. So get off that. That's ridiculous.
And here's another thing that I've heard. See, this is what gets on my nerves about these millennial fans. And you've heard me complain about millennial fans on this program several hundred times over. They want to trivialize that, number one. Number two, they want to trivialize the Lakers, who I believe were going to come up short of a title anyway, and, put it to the blame of the pandemic or the stoppage. Listen, Adam Silver, to his credit, is doing everything possible to get the NBA resumed, part one. But here comes part two. You want to do it safely, and you want to do it with fans in the stands. You want to do it where we get back to some kind of normalcy and get out of this new normal that we're in right now with all the social distancing. And, folks, you have to practice that. You got to practice just practice safety, okay? That's what the NBA is finding out right now. When Rudy Gobert tested positive for the coronavirus, it was a snowball waiting to happen. Donovan Mitchell was next. Then you find out Kevin Durant's got it. From what I'm told, 14 members of the NBA community have it, including 10 players. That's a lot to get over in a short amount of time.
It is. And it shows you how fast that this thing is spreading. And we need to do everything in our power to make sure we contain the spreading of this deadly virus.
Yes.
I was in a situation the other day. I was at work and someone came to work sick. So, and that's not being very responsible. So if you guys are sick or come to any type of ailment, stay home. You should be home regardless. But there are some people that have to work these essential jobs.
Yeah.
But if you're sick, protect your fellow coworker, protect your fellow man, and stay home, get better, then come back.
Yeah.
But if you're sick and if you don't test positive for it, stay home, get better, because it is also regular cold and flu season too.
Right.
So get yourself better, get yourself right, and then come on back in.
And what's crazy, especially given where I am right now, I'm in North Carolina, we've had 80-degree days in recent times, even with this coronavirus going on. We've had 80-degree days. The pollen's kicking our asses, but and you mix in the coronavirus that could spread too, because there's a couple counties over from us that had their first couple of cases of it. This is serious, folks. This is very serious.
And it needs to be taken seriously too, because there's videos on these millennials out on beaches having parties.
Yeah.
And not taking this thing seriously. Stop that. You have people out here with underlying conditions that this thing can attack and possibly kill.
Yeah.
Stop it. Take it seriously. Get your ass back home. Do what you got to do to get better.
And get better. Absolutely. You got to get better. William Morgan joining me here on the program. Okay, let's get back to the NBA. Who was your most valuable player? I hate to use the word was, because I really believe Adam Silver is going to get this taken care of. The coronavirus is going to run its course, and it has to run its course. Folks, listen carefully. It has to run its course. It's a very deadly virus, and you have to take care of yourselves. I cannot stress that enough. My guests cannot stress this enough. You have to take care of yourselves.
Yes.
But let's have a little NBA fun here. Who was your most valuable player?
Giannis.
Good, I'd have been blinking.
Giannis by far.
Thank you.
If you go back and look at it, he was leading almost every category in almost every offensive category. Go back and look at him on defense. He was high in most defensive stats too.
Yep.
So yeah, it's Giannis by far. Giannis.
You want to hear something funny? You want to know who they were putting in the MVP conversation? And I know I'm going to turn down my headset, because I know I'm going to get a laugh out of you when I mention these two names. One of them you already know, which is LeBron. And the second, I actually, listen to me. I actually had an NBA expert tell me, oh God, I can't believe I'm going to repeat this. James Harden.
How? How?
I knew you would get such a kick out of that.
Go back and look at the games from this season alone. They were winning with him having subpar games and Russell Westbrook leading the way.
and then Russell Westbrook and James Harden have had subpar games, and the Rockets got their tails kicked. They're leaning too hard. Yep. Atlanta comes to mind. Boston comes to mind. The
Knicks come to mind.
I got one better than that. They lost to Golden State on Christmas Day.
Yep. Remember that?
I was watching that game here in my office, and my wife looked at me and said, "Why are you laughing crazily?" And she looked at the screen and she goes, "Oh." She had a smile on her face and she walked out. Folks.
She did.
Look, she's like me. She's old school when it comes to the NBA. I mentioned Reggie Miller, and a smile creeps across her face. Michael Jordan, same thing. But, folks, I hate to inform you of your Laker dreams of a title. I hate to inform the folks that are dreaming about that, and to the point drooling about that. But when this season resumes and concludes, the Lakers are going to come up short again. And then you have to worry about the scepter of, I don't know, the Golden State Warriors, perhaps. Because Steph's not going to play anymore this season. He played his one game. Nah. He got his ovation, but it ain't the same without Steph and Clay on the floor at the same time. It's not the same.
Right.
And they know it. Okay? And they know it. Now, I put a couple of rumors out there about two big men that could be in play as far as a trade for the Warriors. And people think I'm crazy when I mention these two names, and I want your thoughts on this. People think I'm crazy.
One, I think.
Yeah, you know one. That's Karl Anthony Towns.
Mm-hmm.
The other big man that could be in play, and I say could because he's on a contract for another year, Giannis.
Mm-hmm. I think my only thing with Giannis, he's kind of entrenched with that Milwaukee team. He's kind of entrenched being the big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
He's kind of entrenched with that.
Well, Giannis is in the same.
Golden State, he's not that anymore.
Well, he's in the same situation that Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson are with Golden State. Big fish in a little pond.
Right.
Okay? He's in that same situation. But I just have this feeling, and you know how I am when I get these feelings. I'm usually right. Something goofy is going to happen where one of those two big men are in Golden State. Now, imagine Karl Anthony Towns, who's a little older than Giannis, in a Golden State uniform in that system with Mike Brown preaching defense. Yikes.
I can see Cat leaving.
Yeah.
Because I don't see how anybody would be happy in Minnesota.
He wants out. Don't. He wants out.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. I can see him leaving.
So, Andrew Wiggins is a stand-in right now. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Unless they make him a third guard, and I don't see how Steve Kerr could make that happen because, let's just be honest, Andrew Wiggins, love the way he was playing with them. Andrew Wiggins ain't Andre Iguodala. All right? Which is the role I could see with Andrew Wiggins. But be that as it may, and a lot of people don't want to believe this, and I want your thoughts on this before we close.
Mm-hmm.
Karl Anthony Towns, and listen to me carefully, folks. Karl Anthony Towns is in play when it comes to a trade for Golden State. Karl Anthony Towns is in play, and I think before the new season starts, Cat will be in Golden State.
Like I said, I can see it. Because again, I don't see how you're happy in Minnesota. You're playing losing basketball. You're in a cold city. There's nothing a lot going on there. Golden State gives you a little bit more to offer city-wise, and it also gives you a chance to win a legitimate title. Can you imagine Clay, Steph, Draymond, and Cat? It gives you that opportunity to win a title right there. You have a few teams in the West that might be able to hang with you, but you will be in a lot more competitive situation with Golden State than you would be with Minnesota.
And it's just so unfortunate for Golden State that they had to suffer through the season that they were suffering through with all the injuries. They lose Kevin Durant to free agency, and I can understand that. I still think Kevin Durant made a stupid move, and I've been one to say that on this program. Why would you leave that kind of situation? But imagine putting Karl Anthony Towns in his place. Matter of fact, y'all think I'm crazy for saying this. Karl Anthony Towns gives me two reminders. Kevin Durant being one, DeMarcus Cousins being the other.
Yeah. And he's still young and productive.
Yep.
That's the thing that you like. He's young and productive. He can run up and down the floor. Mike Brown can do some things with him defensively. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I don't know about Giannis, but I can definitely see Cat being out of Minnesota. I definitely can see that.
And I can also see, and there was a show that I did that had this subject, and you called me laughing when I said that Brooklyn needs to end the Kyrie experiment immediately. They need to cut him loose.
Well, here's the thing that gets me. It's being reported that he didn't want to coach. The coach did not want anything to do with Kevin Durant and Kyrie once everybody came back together.
Because of the superstar factor. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving got Kenny Atkinson fired. I now firmly believe that because Kenny Atkinson was building a culture of winning in Brooklyn. And I think the Nets should return to New Jersey, but that'll be a discussion for you and I at another time.
I think one thing also comes into play. I think Kenny Atkinson has a little bit of an ego, such as just like the coach GM of the Texans.
Yeah,
we'll get into
Bill
that
O'Brien.
a little bit. I think he has a little bit of an ego there, as he wants to be the only guy in the locker room with a voice.
That's like Adam Gase with the Jets. But like I said,
and Kyrie,
and I'll have you on later I'll have you on later this week to talk NFL because we got to hit those two cases. But Kyrie and Kevin Durant cost Kenny Atkinson his job. Yeah, Kenny Atkinson had an ego, but think about this: he was building a culture in Brooklyn, a winning culture.
He was winning. Look, he made Spencer Dinwiddie at least a star.
And he made D'Angelo
serviceable.
And he made D'Angelo Russell an all-star.
Exactly. Give the man some credit. I don't think we'll see the last of him coaching either. I think you'll see him back in the league coaching somebody real soon. I think you'll see that. There'll be a young team. And if he wants to come to my Chicago Bulls, I wouldn't be mad about it.
I wouldn't be mad either. He'd be a perfect fit in Chicago. He'd be a perfect fit in Chicago. He'd be a perfect fit in Charlotte because they got some young players there that could use some molding. He would mention the Bulls, mention the Hornets. You know what? He'd be a great fit in Dallas because of the stars they have. Because of the stars they have there. You leave Denver alone. You know who would be? You know where he would be a perfect fit, and he would go through the same struggle that he did in Brooklyn? Houston.
Yeah. At least the man does preach defense. I give him that. He will preach defense.
And I've always said this about the Houston Rockets. The biggest mistake they made 4 years ago was letting Kevin McHale go. That was a huge mistake because it not only cost them, they lost in the West Finals to Golden State in 2015. They got they got their tails kicked in 2016 under D'Antonio. They lost in 5 games in 2016, 7 games in 2018, 6 games in 2019, all without the lack of defense. You get Kevin McHale back in there, or you put Kenny Atkinson in that situation, it's different.
Yep, completely different.
It is completely different.
You'll make sure you rotate hard in those defensive schemes, defend that pick and roll, get out on a 3. He's going to make sure that you do that. And if you can't do it, you're going to be benched. You're going to be gone. Remember, one of the criticisms he also took was benching DeAndre Jordan.
Yep.
And then it's kind of funny when he gets fired and let go, DeAndre Jordan's the starter again. Man, get out of here with that.
It tells you a lot about the NBA these days, doesn't it? Tells you a lot about tells you a lot about the NBA these days and their lack of playing defense. The man in charge of the Sports Report, William Morgan, joining me here on the program. Thanks a lot, my friend.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. If you need me, let me know.
Folks, I got more for you on this pandemic episode, and there are going to be a few more of these, so take care of yourselves, okay? Back in the deuce.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
Welcome back to the program, folks. Don't forget that you can hit us on all of our social media using the ID SNW Digital Media. That's SNW Digital Media for Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. And speaking of having some great guests on the show that we distribute through all of our social media, don't forget to check out our Patreon as well. Uncle Smoothie is back. Chris Williams has joined me. How are you, my friend?
What's happening, partner? Thank you so much for bringing me back. I must be doing something well.
Yeah, you're doing a lot of things well. Man, listen, all right, this is the one of the few times where I'm going to be a fan. What the hell happened?
All right, well, there's a lot going on. What the hell happened concerning? Be more specific for me. A little bit more specific, man.
With our
There's a lot you can say that too.
I know. Boy, isn't that the truth? That's a conversation for later. That's probably a conversation for Snowman Unfiltered, and that's a shameless plug, as you all know. But the sports world has ground to a halt for very good reason.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. Very good reason.
No doubt.
But damn it, I'm a fan.
No doubt. Well, you know what? Right now, obviously, safety comes first.
Indeed.
But guys like you and myself who love sports, right now, I'm a little bit more, I'm still active. I can play a little bit here and there. So it's a tough time. It's so tough, man.
Yeah, it is.
Only thing we can really kind of sink our teeth in is a little bit of football news.
Yeah.
But, during this time period, there's so much that's usually going on. So we're in a tough spot.
I miss March Madness so much.
Listen, Snowman, I am so disappointed from that aspect. I did the last basketball game on ESPN as a color commentator of the 2020 season.
Yeah.
I did a MAC tournament game, Siena versus Fairfield, which was the last game that they shut everything down with.
Yeah.
So during that time period, everyone was just so disappointed. The atmosphere in the arena was so down, Snowman.
Yeah.
The players, parents, coaches, people working in the arena, because obviously we didn't know what was going on.
Right.
And we had just heard that a number of tournaments were shut down. I believe that day, the Big East tournament at halftime had shut down. We finished up our game, which was the last one. No fans.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a great atmosphere to begin with, but we thought we would at least be able to get through it. So you just know everyone was so disappointed, and the faces on those young people was, it was the worst.
I bet. I saw the report. I saw the reports flying in. When I checked out of work, I saw the reports flying in. Big East was canceled. Big Ten was canceled.
Correct.
Pac-12 was canceled. I mean, the cancellations were flying in by the second.
Yes, they were. I believe the MAC conference was the last one to cancel.
The last one.
Therefore, we were the last game that was played, which was a tournament game, obviously, to try to figure out who would go to the NCAA tournament.
Yes.
And nothing conspired, and everybody was just so disappointed.
Yeah.
They had to shut everything down.
It's disappointing, but it's a safety issue, and when you have a safety issue, you have to take every precaution necessary. And I say it on this show.
And you're dealing with young people who are amateurs. I think that's important to note also. And you have to take that in consideration.
You have to take everything into consideration, especially the safety of the fans, the safety of the players. It was thought of by the NCAA that they were going to have the tournament games without fans, which would have been a weird atmosphere, and you experienced that.
It would have been very weird, but at least we would have had it.
Yeah.
And I've seen reports and I've read up, just doing a little bit of research on it after everything was canceled.
Yep.
A number of people were looking forward to at least trying to get the tournament going.
At least the first four in Dayton. At least the first four in
Correct.
At least the first four in Dayton. But if you don't have the fans and if you don't have the players and this pandemic spreads and in a closed area, it could spread very, very fast, and it could also bring a lot of panic, which is why Adam Silver shut the NBA down, postponed the season, and said we're going to make sure we help the country get this under control first before we resume any games. And he's looking into arena availability come August because he wants to get this season complete. Which brings this question to you: do we start over with the NBA, or do we complete this season? Your thoughts?
I really think we complete the season if it comes to that point. A number of players have put in a lot of hard work, coaches and all these groups, and you want to try to finish up something that you started. I don't think it would be fair to start over until you start a new season.
Fair enough.
So I would be a fan of starting exactly where you stopped off, because you have the number of players who've had really good years. You know, you have that MVP race, and I've seen you go back and forth. Well, actually, you know what? I haven't seen you go back and forth. I know you have a clear-cut winner.
Yeah, and it's Giannis.
Obviously, you know, people want to throw their hat in that ring also. So I would like to see it start where it ended, in my opinion.
Yeah. You want to pick it up where you want to pick it up where you left off, and get some questions answered. Can Milwaukee finally complete the picture and get their first NBA title since 1974?
Yes.
Can the Los Angeles Lakers get their first title since 2010? Those are the two big storylines. Can the Golden State Warriors swing a trade for Karl Anthony Towns and get themselves back in the competition and have a good end to this season?
Man, I like it.
I'm just getting started. Can the Warriors swing a trade for Karl Anthony Towns and bait Minnesota with Andrew Wiggins? And get them. Look, I put this rumor out there 2 weeks ago, and I think it's going to happen. Can the Houston Rockets use microball to get themselves to a title? My answer is no, but I know other people will say different. Let's go on. Well, check it out. Yeah, you're throwing a lot at me. Let me just jump on one. Can I jump on one, please? Take a couple.
Because I love watching your Facebook feed. And if anyone doesn't know, the Snowman gives you a lot of good nuggets out there. And I sit back and watch and laugh and comment here or there.
Yeah.
But one I have to jump on. The Houston Rockets. I've never been a fan of the way they play. Unfortunately, because James Harden is so good of a one-on-one basketball player, he gets a lot of love, and I give him kudos for that. But there's no way the Rockets can win playing the way they play. And it's sad that we feed into it year in and year out. There's no way you can win playing like that, Snowman.
Amen.
And then you bring Westbrook over, and that just really just ruins him.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that thinks that.
Neither guy can do it by themselves. It's unfortunate.
And they've tried.
So I just want to tackle one of them.
And they've tried.
Oh, no, they tried. See, because the NBA season is so long, you're going to have games where guys are going to have big numbers. And they are that good where they can score a lot of points and be effective on certain nights.
Mm-hmm.
But in a 7-game series, when it becomes more close-knit, a grind-out type affair, the scouting reports are intense.
Yep.
There's no way you can play like that and beat someone in a 7-game series, especially if it's a good team when we get into the playoffs.
And Lord knows they've tried 4 of the last 5 years.
Yes.
They've run into Golden State, the kings of microball. But here's the difference between the way Golden State plays microball and the way Houston plays microball. Golden State spreads the ball around.
Right.
Golden State has had a big man.
There's movement.
Golden State has had a big man to depend on. Anybody remember Andrew Bogut? Anybody remember Kevin Durant? Anybody remember Zaza Pachulia? They ran the ball through Pachulia, and they've gotten some effective shots.
And they play better motion offense, whereas the Houston Rockets play ISO basketball.
Yep.
So there should be an argument from someone who's listening who say, well, listen, Snowman Smooth, how dare you say that? The year they had Chris Paul, they took the Warriors to a 7th game.
Yeah,
and you're exactly right. Because of Chris Paul, who's a solid point guard who understands how to play playoff basketball. That's why they were that close, and they possibly could have beaten the Warriors that year.
No.
But not with Russell Westbrook
I
doing
say
what
no.
he does.
I say no with Chris Paul, and here's why. They should have closed them out. I'm speaking of the Rockets. In 2018, they get a 3-2 lead. They hold the Warriors to under 100 points in Houston in Game 5. They should have closed them out in Oakland in Game 6.
Oh, yes, they should have. You're right. I totally agree.
An 11-point lead at halftime, and you only put up 25 points in the second half, and you get mauled.
The bottom line is it comes down to the isolations.
Yep.
And when that game was closed out, you were going to Harden and letting them go one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough. It's tough to do that in the playoff series.
It is.
Because night in and night out, everybody's going to make adjustments. That's the one great thing about professional sports. You're not going to continue to get over on your talent and your athleticism. Somebody's going to make the adjustment.
Yeah.
We see it in all sports, football, basketball, Lamar Jackson. Nobody can catch up. Somebody's going to catch up with you sooner or later.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to happen.
The Tennessee Titans caught up with him and made him a one-dimensional player.
It happens. It happens.
On a Saturday night, they made him a one-dimensional player, which is the one thing I was afraid of with that Tennessee defense. You know,
Right.
the Warriors made the Rockets one-dimensional, while the Warriors did not. And here's the biggest difference. In the series in 18 and 19, the Rockets had the Warriors down, but did the Warriors go away from what they do best? No.
Never. Well, it was a championship pedigree that they established. And it's in their DNA. They stuck with what was well for them, and it works.
It
They
does.
won championships doing it. The Rockets haven't done it yet, so I don't understand why they're going to stick with it. And it's unfortunate that D'Antoni continue and consistently gets a job in the league. I can't get it.
I don't get it either.
I'm not one of those guys who advocates for people getting fired, but I just don't understand how year in and year out this man has a gig in the NBA.
I don't get it either. You know who should be coaching the Rockets right now, but it'll never happen? Kenny Atkinson.
It probably will not. And he's a very good coach.
It ain't going to happen for two very simple reasons. James Harden and Russell Westbrook. Just like Kyrie Irving, and I'll get to him in a moment. Just like Kyrie Irving.
Oh, yeah.
Just like Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant got him out of Brooklyn. And the Brooklyn Nets should still be the New Jersey Nets, but I digress.
Oh, my man. No, man. Well, check this out. Let's make this clear. The NBA is a players' league. They run the league. Those guys decide on who should be their coach, what they're going to do. In most cases, again, I've been in some NBA huddles.
Yep.
Whatever play that's run by the coach is decided by those players once they get on the floor.
True.
Huge Philly fan. You know, I'm born and raised in Philly. Loved Allen Iverson. But the story was always that Allen Iverson did his own thing. Larry Brown would run some excellent plays.
Mm-hmm.
But once these guys get on the floor, this guy goes solo.
Yeah.
But he's so good, it works.
Yeah, it works. It works.
It works.
For a while, it was Michael
Now, the
Jordan.
type of coach that usually works in the NBA
Mm-hmm.
for teams that are trying to get across that hurdle, a coach who's won a championship. Obviously, there's not that many of them out there. Those are the guys who put their foot down and demand certain guys and certain teams to do what needs to be done because they can always bring that ring into their face.
Yep. And Larry Brown tried to do it with Allen Iverson.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
That was a tough one.
You know, and you know what's crazy? Michael Jordan was that way for a while, and then Phil Jackson showed up and put his foot down. But the difference being, and I love Allen Iverson. Don't get me wrong, love Allen Iverson.
Same here. Let's make that clear. Like I said, born and raised in Philly, I would always jokingly tell people Allen Iverson can take 4 guys off the street and win a couple of games in the league with us. That's how good he was.
But again, Michael Jordan was Allen Iverson for a while until Phil Jackson showed up. The only difference being Michael Jordan was willing to listen, and it made him better, and it made him greater. Bronzexuals, listen carefully. 2 things Michael Jordan did that made him greater. He was willing to listen, and he implemented everything that Phil Jackson put in his head. Because Mike knew, especially with the Detroit Pistons, it was a mind game more than a physical game.
Yes, indeed.
The Pistons made it physical. Indeed. Michael Jordan made it mental, especially in 1991 when the Bulls swept the Detroit Pistons. And what happens when you have a leader willing to listen to a coach? It filters down into the teammates. Just ask Stephen Curry. Just ask Klay Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
Just ask Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr played with Michael Jordan.
Yes, he did.
Steve Kerr played with MJ.
I can't remember what year was that, Snowman.
1997.
Knocks down that mid-range jumper.
1997.
Jordan called that in the huddle before they came out.
Yep, and Michael just looked at Steve and said, "You be ready." And Steve looked at him back and said, "I'll be ready to knock it down." And he knocked it down. When you have teammates like that, and I'm leading right into Kyrie Irving with this, folks, and a lot of people are going to be upset with me, but I don't care. I've discussed this on my show. You've heard me discuss this on my show.
Let's hear it.
The Kyrie experiment in Brooklyn needs to end now.
Well, I'm just going to toss this out as a debate point, which I love. It hasn't started yet. I agree with you. I don't think it's going to go well. But we like to see both of them on the floor because as a star, when you become a superstar, in my opinion, is when you understand you have to share. You have to share and sometimes you have to take a step back and sacrifice. I want to see both of them on the floor together and see what happens. But that's the area where most stars have a problem. Understanding they have to share and sacrifice some of their game to make others better.
Which is why I feel right now the Nets won't win a darn thing, because you have a player in Kyrie Irving that won't share. Talk to LeBron James about that.
We haven't seen him and KD together yet. You got to give him the benefit of the doubt.
No, I will not.
Fairness to him.
In fairness. You want to talk about fairness? Yeah. He had 2 years to be the leader in Boston, and it went sideways.
Agree. What I believe happened in Boston, Kyrie comes in, he wants to be the alpha male, and those young guys, Brown and Tatum, those guys were very, very good. I don't think he realized how good they were. And they had done so much the previous year.
Yep.
And they were basically like, listen, man, we can't take a step backwards just because you came here.
Right.
We still need to shine. Jason Tatum is going to be an MVP candidate before it's all said and done.
Next year.
He's that good.
I'm calling it right now. Next year, he will be an MVP candidate.
Yes. And I don't think he needed to be a sidekick. And
no.
Kyrie learned that early on. And another issue we haven't touched on, Kyrie's injury prone.
That's obvious.
You got to be able to play 82 games, or at least come out and show me I'm the leader. I can sustain my body, being able to tell you what to do and being able to do it myself, and be out there able to play. And he hasn't done that for a full season in a while.
I don't think he's done it. I don't think he's done it in the last 7 years.
I don't even think he's done it his entire career.
I don't think he's done it in the league. I don't think Kyrie's played a full 82 games since he's been in the league. Right. Hell, he didn't even play a full season at Duke. He played 11 games.
Right. Well, I said throughout his entire career, he's been very injury prone. Now, for him, what he's excellent at, he's a huge, big-time player in closing moments. He does well when the lights are on. He closes out games, but he's a one-on-one guy. He likes to pass the rock. Mm-hmm. He'll give it a headache. But when you're playing with other good players, they need to touch it also.
You know what? I made
and that's why Kemba Walker is a much better fit for the Celtics.
I love Kemba Walker. Love Kemba Walker as a fit in Boston. I made this argument on my show, and I want to get your thoughts. The same big-time shot that made Kyrie Irving also broke him. And I'm talking about the shot he hit in 2016 to beat Golden State and win the title. That shot made him, and the next season broke him. Because he got
Explain
cooked.
how it broke him. I need to get a little bit more insight on how it broke him.
In simplest terms, he got cooked in 5 games. He got absolutely blistered because the Warriors figured out what to do. They sent different people at him, and Kyrie couldn't handle it. Kyrie could not handle it. It wasn't just Stephen Curry guarding Kyrie Irving. That's the match. If you're Kyrie, that's the matchup you want. You don't want to see Klay Thompson.
No question about it. You want that matchup, yes.
You don't want to see Klay Thompson. You don't want to see Andre Iguodala. You definitely don't want to see Kevin Durant. It was a height difference. Steve Kerr figured out, okay, it's going to be a height difference. So let me send
you need
three bigger players.
Some length and athleticism on a guy like Kyrie.
Yeah, and Andre Iguodala baked him in an oven. In 2 games in the 2 games in Oakland, especially the final game, and I love the fact that Steph got his revenge, and that's a selfish pleasure for me when Steph brought the ball through his legs, wrapped it around him, got Kyrie one way, leaned the other way, and banged home a 3 that clinched the title. And and Steph just looked back and said, "We're even. Okay, we're even." Right. So, and then Kyrie was out of there.
Let's take a little bit of the emotional bias out of it because it sounds as though you're a Warriors fan. So I'm gonna squeeze a little bit out of you from that standpoint. In fairness to Kyrie, again, I like this advocate that I'm playing here. Kind of reminds me of First Take, what we're doing here. So Kyrie, exceptional one-on-one player. That's what he does well. So at the end of games, in the NBA, you don't need to call a play for him. Give him an ISO.
I'll give you that.
Clear out a side for him. He's going to get to the basket or get a shot that he wants.
I'll give you that.
Which he did to close out Right, which he did to close out the championship season that one year.
Yes.
I don't know the years. I know you're good with numbers.
2016.
We talked about how teams, at the NBA level, NFL level, at the professional level, make adjustments.
Yes.
Warriors make their adjustments. Understand you need to put some length on him.
Mm-hmm.
You need to put some height on him, some athleticism on him. He's still a very good one-on-one player, but
Truth.
him not understanding that he needs to share, he could have made other people better.
So do you think that
But I
happens in
think
Brooklyn?
that selfish mentality
Yeah.
is still in his head. I can close this out on my own. Because at that stage, LeBron wasn't even the closer
No.
for the Cavaliers.
No,
they
he
would
wasn't.
allow Kyrie to close out games.
And that was the move that the Cavaliers needed to make. They needed to build around Kyrie. And if you really want to think about it, when LeBron returned, that deflated him. When LeBron returned to Cleveland, that deflated Kyrie because for 3 years, they built around Kyrie Irving. They built around him.
Right.
And then LeBron comes back, some people go packing, and then Kyrie's going, now what the hell do I do?
Well, it was certainly some alpha male issues with Kyrie and LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kyrie, after making the shot in that first championship season, was basically, I'm an alpha. I really believe I can have my own team. I know Kyrie had a really great relationship with Kobe. I think maybe some of those discussions were there.
Yeah.
But I don't think he was mentally prepared to have his own team. We saw it firsthand in Boston.
Yeah.
It's more than just what you do on the floor. We talked about him not being able to go an entire season without being injured. And all this plays out.
And being a
How
leader
he
in the
handled
locker
the
room.
media on certain occasions, certain things he said. He hadn't grown and matured to the point to be an alpha. And we haven't seen just yet now if he can be the alpha in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I think it's a growth process. I think it's part of your maturity. But if you want to be the true superstar that we believe you can be, you have to make other people better.
And he hasn't
You have to
yet.
make me feel good about my game, make me feel good about making shots, make me feel good about being on the floor at the end with you. If you can't do it, can I feel comfortable enough to know, Kyrie, you'll get me the ball, and if I make it, you're happy for me. A la Ron Artest, Metta World Peace, Kobe gives him the shot, he knocks down a three, and he jokingly says, Kobe, pass me the ball.
Yeah, 2010. And that sealed the championship.
Right.
That's
you have
the
to make
biggest
other
difference.
guys, other players around you feel good about what they bring to the table.
I'll close with this point. I've had so many people dive into my argument of LBJ versus MJ, and I said the biggest difference is Michael Jordan made his teammates better. And I've had people argue with me, well, LeBron's made his teammates better. Okay, let me pose a question to you. Has LeBron ever had that much confidence in Kyrie where Kyrie would knock down the winning shot and people would throw 2016 at me? And I say Kyrie did that on his own. He didn't do that, with the push from LeBron that LeBron was supposed to give him. Steve Kerr is a different story. Steve Kerr had the confidence from MJ after Kerr missed a big shot in Game 4. Game 6 at the United Center, Mike looked at Steve, and Steve looked back at Michael, and Steve said, I'll knock down the shot, and Steve knocked down the shot. That's a big difference. Right. For me, that's a huge, huge difference. That's Uncle Smoothie. Chris Williams talking a little hoops with yours truly, the Snowman. Tell everybody where they can find you, my friend.
My man, Snowman, is always a pleasure. They can find me on Instagram, Hear Chris Speak, Twitter, Hear Chris Speak, and if you're still on Facebook, like the older ones like you and myself, Chris B. Last name Williams, WILLIAMS.
All right.
Now, Snowman, you have to let me give a rebuttal on that last point.
Go ahead.
I got to come back on the last point because I love your emotional bias. We know you love the Bulls. We know you love Chicago.
That's my hometown. That's my hometown. I got to bring that up. All right, finish it.
Now check this out. In all honesty, both guys make people better. LeBron has always made other people better, and that's been his knock. He's always played the game the right way. The difference between those two is Michael is a certified killer. He goes for the neck, smells blood, and he will not let you go. LeBron, more, okay, you know what, I'll let you play for a little bit. let's make it competitive and see if I can do something here. No, Michael wants to snuff you out. I love the way Chauncey Billups made the comparison of the two. He said the difference between the two is no one could eat when Michael was on his watch. He kept so many superstars away from winning a championship.
Yes.
Ewing, Barkley, all these guys. None of these guys sniffed it when Michael was on his watch because he wanted to step on your neck. And as Chauncey said, everybody eats during LeBron's reign. So I'm going to sum it up that way.
And there's truth to that. Shout to Chauncey Billups with that.
There, I love that, man.
Mr. Big Shot himself, Chauncey Billups with that quote. Thanks a lot, my friend. I really appreciate it.
Last one, Snowman. I can't let you go without this. Give me a little bit of Dave Zinkoff since you went into announcers.
And
can I get the dot?
Forward from University of Massachusetts, captain of the Eastern Conference Championship team, Julius the Doctor Irving.
That's my Philly fam. Each time we talk, we got to close out with that. That's classic.
Gotta have Zink to close it out. And I got some old Sixer games when they used to be on CBS. I got some of those now in my library, and I'm loving it. Thanks a lot, my friend. I truly appreciate the time.
I appreciate it, partner. Thank you so much.
More for you in a deuce.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
Welcome back to the program, folks. Yes, I still have this frog in my throat, and I'm still a little under the weather, but I'm still here bringing it for you. But let me welcome the playmaker, Darnell Sollins, to the broadcast. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. Pray for you to get well. And speaking of getting well, I want to go ahead and send my prayers out to Sean Payton.
Yes.
And news just broke. He tested positive for the virus, so I want to send my prayers out to him.
Yeah, Sean Payton confirming he contracted the coronavirus. Of course, you folks that follow the NFL, Sean Payton, the longtime coach of the New Orleans Saints, and you said something to me that that fits this situation of the coronavirus. When it rains, it pours, and it's been pouring since it got to this country, or since the story broke from China December 31st. Let's just be honest. But I'm going to have some fun with my friend, the playmaker, by saying
he literally means that.
What did you say?
You literally mean that.
Yeah. By saying the Los Angeles Rams released Todd Gurley 2 years too late.
You know, I don't know if you had time to listen to our new episode on the podcast. I was just with you laughing, and you did listen to it, so you know where I'm going.
Go there. That's why I said it.
I was just on the podcast asking, what are we doing? If I had a Scott Van Pelt button, that's the button I would use. What are we doing?
Okay.
I asked this on the podcast.
Then I will ask it the correct way. What the hell are you guys doing?
We released Clay Matthews and Eli Gurley.
You're hemorrhaging your future. Well, I shouldn't say the Rams are hemorrhaging their future. They hemorrhaged their future when they picked up Jalen Ramsey, and Ramsey didn't do much for you.
I'm sitting here just like we won back-to-back division titles. We made a trip to the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden, this is where we are at.
Mm-hmm.
Rams Nation is crumbling right now.
Mm-hmm.
We about so close to being in depression right now.
Oh, you already are in depression, and his name is Jared Goff.
No, we ain't there yet. We ain't there yet.
You're there.
There've been some. There've been some rumors of some things gonna happen. So
okay,
we ain't there yet. But if they don't make no flashing moves before the draft, we might be in depression.
The Rams are already in depression, and you're not in SoFi Stadium yet. See, when you guys, and I talked about this on the program, when you guys put everything you had into Jared Goff, and I hate saying this, Rams Nation, but people know me. No matter what team they follow, they know me to bring it, and I'm going to continue to bring it, and it goes like this. When you mortgaged your future on Jared Goff, who hadn't proven anything yet, and to a point still hasn't, you guys were in trouble. The signing of Clay Matthews made it worse. Now you let go of Clay Matthews a year too late after he gave you a subpar season. Todd Gurley gave you two subpar not two subpar full seasons, but two consecutive subpar playoff seasons, and he didn't even play that much in the Super Bowl you guys were in. And now you mortgage in the future on what?
I have no idea. Aaron Donald is around here looking, well, he was looking around like he was going to play with on the D-line, then we ended up getting Floyd from Chicago. So
like that's going to solve. I'm going to give you the floor for a couple of moments and just let you go off about Todd Gurley. The floor is yours.
Look, people, this is our star running back we just released. Now, people will come back and say, yeah, we kind of see some cap room. We re-signed Andrew Whitworth. We bought back Austin Blake. So our line was going to be intact. We just released our star running back. So y'all finna put the pressure on Derrick Henderson. And Derrick Henderson, I like you. I really do. I saw you in Memphis. You did your thing. You didn't get that much opportunities in the first year because we still have Malcolm Brown and Todd Gurley, so we use Malcolm Brown. We want to use Gurley. So I like Derrick Henderson. Are y'all putting it on him? Like, next me, Sean McVay, what are we doing here? We need to know something. You're supposed to be trading Brandon Cooks. Where is that going to go at? Who's going to take Brandon Cooks?
I'll answer that question. New Orleans.
They ain't finna give it no damn Michael Thomas.
No, you're just going to put Brandon Cooks on the other side. And I'll tell you a dark horse that may swing a trade for Brandon Cooks. That dark horse is within the division.
And that's the last thing I need to hear. You know what? Fuck it. You already said in within the division.
And you know the
paying attention to what happened on Monday.
And you know the team I'm talking about. You know exactly the team I'm talking about that could swing a backdoor trade for Brandon Cooks and use him correctly. Because the Rams sure as hell didn't.
Hell, all three of them can do it.
How long have you been around?
I'm not even going to get on that. Let me get well, y'all paying attention to what happened Monday. The first big news that happened on Monday. Some team out in the West Coast, that I might add, in the NFC, that I might add, grabbed another receiver to go at Larry Fitzgerald.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Know what? Let me help y'all out. DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald with Kyler Murray and Kenyon. Leave that right there. Why is that a big problem for the Rams? We still got Jalen Ramsey. We didn't get Darius Slay. He's in Philadelphia.
He's not going to do anything in Philadelphia. It's Darius Slay we're talking about. He spent most of his career in Detroit. That should tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah, exactly. But my point is, we only got one corner. They got two receivers. And a tight end, by the way. Can't remember his name right now, but he was doing damage.
And my 49ers have 3 plus a tight end.
So the only thing that went good for me, and it didn't even go that good for me, is the fact that y'all don't got Emmanuel Sanders.
Don't have what?
They don't got Emmanuel Sanders, right? Somehow y'all didn't re-sign him, but That's just a minor victory for me. That's a minor victory for me.
And that victory is going to get crushed because another rookie that we drafted by the name of Jalen Hurd is going to rise into Sanders' place. And I'll tell you a rumor that I think is going to happen. The 49ers are going to take a chance on A.J. Green.
I have one star corner. I have a very great, awesome, future Hall of Fame defensive line.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do. Aaron Donald's making to the Hall of Fame.
Aaron Donald's not going in the Hall of Fame. Don't
Aaron
give me
Donald's
that.
going in the Hall of Fame.
Miss me with
Trust me.
Miss me with that.
Look, no man.
Look.
You should know by now. What I say comes true. Trust me when I tell you, Aaron Donald will make it to the Hall of Fame.
Trust me when I tell you what I say comes true. And plus, I'm a little more old school than you. And of course, you figured out I'm messing with you about that because I love Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Aaron Donald. Okay? But every offense in the NFC is going to wear him out because he has no help.
I'm gonna see what this Alshon Robinson can do. He came from Detroit. I'm gonna see what he can do.
Oh, there's your problem right there. He came from Detroit. There's your issue.
Came from Detroit. I'm gonna see what he can do.
You actually gonna trust a folks? I'm kidding around as I do this. You're actually gonna trust a person that came from the Detroit Lions? The only
I don't have a choice at this point.
Listen. The only team that would be worse in picking up free agents would be the Cleveland Browns, but we're not going to go there.
At this moment, I don't have a choice right now. I ain't like these today fans here. Things go wrong, I'm jumping ship. No.
Oh, I know.
I don't jump ship.
I know. I've been a 49er fan since 1981, and believe me, until this past season, we've had our struggles. Believe me, I know what you're talking about. But
there's no jumping ship. And by the way, Todd Gurley sent out 2 tweets. One was referencing Friday, and the other tweet is the one that really hurt.
Listen,
he called out one team to come get him, and everybody knows who that one team he called. And if that team signed Todd Gurley, you can kiss the NFC. You can kiss the NFC South goodbye. You can kiss the NFC goodbye, and you might damn well can kiss the Super Bowl goodbye.
Well, the Super Bowl's been gone from you guys for 2 years or a year. I'm talking
about everybody. I'm talking about everybody else. Because damn it, this team just signed? Well, not officially yet, but it will be official. Who are we kidding? We just wait for some damn doctor in New York to give this man a physical. That's really what we're waiting on for Bruce Arians and Brian Leftwich.
First of all,
everybody know good damn well Tom Brady will be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer when the season starts.
Well, yeah,
he already got Mike Evans.
Doesn't mean they're going to do anything. Yeah, it doesn't mean they're going to do anything.
He already got 2 tight ends. You going to add Todd Gurley to the mix now?
Can I say 4 words to you, sir, that will probably not make you happy, but I'm going to say them anyway?
I ain't happy already.
Then you're going to hate my next 4 words. Todd?
Probably not, because I got a partner named Dallas Glenn who's probably going to destroy me in the next week on the podcast.
Oh, I'm hopping on your podcast, and I'm going to have fun too if I get my voice back. But in 4 words, Todd Gurley is done. And you're going to hate my next 4 words as we transition to basketball really quick. Not only is Todd Gurley done as far as football is concerned, but so is Kyrie Irving when it comes to basketball.
When was the last time I was on your show?
About a month ago.
Y'all go back a month ago. Because I said something.
You did.
That was going to happen.
Yeah, you did.
The very next, not even 24 hours.
Not even 24 hours later. Yep.
It happened. I told y'all Kyrie Irving wasn't going to finish the season.
Yeah, you did. We both said it. As long as you and I have been talking, when we met earlier this year, I said Kyrie Irving is a bad fit in Brooklyn. Did I not? And people still don't want to believe me.
Oh my God! Hey, matter of fact, was it? That was like what, a couple of days after we found out Kenny Atkinson faced a supposedly Carter Royce. Like,
why did they make Kenny Atkinson the scapegoat when Kyrie Irving needs to be the scapegoat?
Let's just go down the list. So I came on the part. I came in and said Kyrie Irving, he's not coming back to play.
Yep.
24 hours later, they found him. He's having shoulder surgery. Okay. He's going down. Matter of fact, the Brooklyn Nets still in playoff contention, by the way.
Not for long.
I think they was in the 6th spot. I think they were still in the 6th spot.
Yeah, they were.
Kenny Atkinson, Brooklyn Nets, part ways. Really? You telling me 2 players who ain't playing got Kenny Atkinson up out of there? Really? And speaking of one of those players, Kevin Durant tested positive.
Now, we're not making light of this coronavirus, folks. I have been preaching all week about self-care.
Trust me, I can't make light of it. I work at Walgreens.
Oh, so you already get it.
Tomorrow morning.
So you already get it.
Guess I'll be at in the morning. Guess where I will be at? I will be working.
Yeah. Well, people will hear this podcast tomorrow, the podcast version of this show, I beg your pardon, tomorrow afternoon, and they're going to be laughing at both of us. Me for having a frog in my throat. My wife's giving me the finger, pointing at me, going, "Mister, I told you so."
Oh, trust me, don't. I know what I'm dealing with, and trust me, this guy right here prays every day before he goes to work, even before all this happened.
Then why didn't you pray for the Rams not to let go of Todd Gurley? Which I still contend it was 2 years too late.
I have no control over what they do.
Listen, I want to get you back
Damn
on.
It, y'all lucky y'all get to hear this part of me because it's supposed to be about March Madness.
It's supposed to have been about March Madness. It was, yeah.
But thanks to the NFL, they still gave us March Madness.
Yeah, and it's going to be April Madness and beyond.
So right now let me get to the playmaker side. Now I got Darnell out the way. Jesus Christ.
And you have to go to work and deal with this and let it fester? Why?
Dude, I have a whole week, and I know Dallas is going to get me. I know he is.
You know he's going to get you, and I'm going to get you worse.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm going to get you worse.
So, let me get serious here. So, yes, as we know, this coronavirus has almost destroyed the sports world, basically. Because once Rudy Gobert got it, it went downhill from there. So, Adam Silver, he's still hopeful to try to salvage this season, which I commend Adam Silver because he didn't waste no time. Once Rudy Gobert got it, he quickly and swiftly made his decision.
That he did.
The NCAA, on the other hand, y'all deserve some criticism because y'all took a minute.
Yeah, they were the last ones. They were the last one.
And then we need to have some central control with the NCAA because how in the hell does all the power conferences all stop their conference game, but we got St. John's and Creighton playing the first half of the PV damn tournament? Oh no, y'all getting the playmaker now because I'm off me. St. John's and Creighton were playing the game while on my other TV the ACC stopped Clemson and Florida State from me tipping off.
Yep, I saw that too.
I don't want to hear when Rudy Gobert was tested positive. They changed everything. That happened the day before.
When he was touching all the microphones and such.
The report came out the day before.
And they didn't say anything. And they did not say anything.
But in fact, I can prove it to you. I was at work when the report came out about Rudy Gobert. I was working.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The very next day, I was off getting prepared to watch some conference tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So don't tell me, y'all, NCAA, all these conference commissioners and all this, y'all better get together. Y'all better find somebody to have central control so both of y'all can communicate effectively.
You know.
Now, you did make the right decision. You had to cancel.
Yes.
Now, let me get at the fans. Now it's my turn to get at the fans here.
It was inevitable. It was absolutely inevitable.
Let me get all the fans here. I ain't gonna get to the coaches. I'm gonna leave the coaches out of it and players out of it because I've been a player, so I know the feeling. But let me get to all the fans here. They should have postponed. Are you nuts? Do you know what it takes to make March Madness what it is?
Yeah.
They had 14 venues set a year prior. You can't postpone a tournament being played in 14 different cities.
Sure can't.
Events like that are planned in advance. I'm not like Vince McMahon on the other hand.
2 or 3 years in advance. Because remember, they announced the hosting sites 2 or 3 years in advance, and they base it off of where the Final Four is. And you know, a city.
My thoughts and prayers go out to the city of Tampa.
Yeah.
Because y'all had everything coming in, y'all. I mean, the first round of the March Madness tournament was going to be in Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
Then you was going to have WrestleMania in Tampa. It just all this.
And it's shut down. It's all shut down. I hate that this is happening, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. Now, back to your Rams. Back to your Rams. Let's close this with a laugh. Because I know I haven't gotten full playmaker mode yet. I have a question for you, and this is the last question I'll ask before we close up shop here. How are y'all going to fill that stadium with half of your favorite players gone?
Sean McVay, next week, they better think of something. You got a wrestling free agency, you got the NFL draft.
Like the draft, you might have anything.
You might have extra time before the preseason
before the
starts.
Season, yeah.
Yeah, now, let me back up a bit because Sean McVay and especially next week, he has done some great job. He's done a great job usually, so.
But they got rid of Todd Gurley.
This is one of the few times I got to question my GM here.
Well, yeah.
This is one of the few times. I ain't had a question Leslie so many times. This is one of them I got to question him.
Right.
What? His track record shows he made a good decision in the end. So you got the rest of free agency. You still got the NFL draft. We got time before we get the preseason. We gonna see. But I can tell you right now, speaking for Rams Nation, we is not nowhere close to happy.
Y'all are in trouble.
Some of us is in the fetal position crying.
I would say this, and I know this is way early. Y'all are in trouble. That's all I'm going to say. You guys are in deep trouble, and you better fix it fast. You got until August, maybe longer, and it ain't getting fixed.
Man, y'all better listen to him. Y'all better listen to him very closely when he say August. Because when August get around here and we do our preseason talk with me and that always do before the end of the season.
Yep.
We don't talk about preseason. We don't talk about preseason. We just preview the divisions and stuff. And when we get to the NFC West,
it's all about San Francisco.
That means you gonna know how I'm gonna feel when we get to that division.
Yeah, because San Francisco's gonna kick everybody's butt in that division for the next 3 years.
I don't got no faith in Jimmy G.
You should. We beat y'all twice.
I don't have faith. I don't got no faith in Jimmy G.
You should.
That's that damn B line I'm afraid of.
Okay. I'll leave it there. Thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. No problem.
That's the playmaker, Darnell Solins, hopping on to get a drink. I'll be right back.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
I did not need to be told that.
Where true sports talk lives.
Excellent.
Can't wait.
Time for a little Transition Tuesday. We're going to get back into doing this consistently, and Russ Williams has joined me. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Snowman, doing well. Hey, Snowman, I had a question for you. How you been able to cope during this time not having sports? How's it been for you, my man?
I was just going to lead with the question of what the hell happened? Anyone who knows me, I'm from Chicago. One of my favorite voices is Neil Funk, and he was the radio voice of the Bulls for a long time. And after a game against the Lakers where the Bulls came back from 22 down, I have to borrow what he said, which will lead us into Transition Tuesday. A lot of this world and a lot of this country has got to be shaking their head saying, what the hell happened? It's ground to a halt. I got a lot of old school stuff on my computer to keep me going. I got a lot of cartoons to keep me going. And that's how I opened the show, talking about other stuff that I've used now to get, but wow.
I have the same sentiment as you, Snowman. I'm looking at on ESPN. We're looking at dodgeball competitions and throwing rocks, like skipping off the water. This is we're reduced to this now. This is the new normal.
I mean, this ain't 1979, is it? When ESPN first started, Fox Sports wasn't even in competition. You had TBS and TNT. Well, before TNT. TBS was on the air long before TNT. TNT came around in 1988. TBS was around in the 80s. CNN was voiced by the great James Earl Jones to take us in and out of breaks. But then this is the new, I hate saying this phrase, this is the new normal, and I'm only finding a couple of ways to cope. It's helped. Having great guests like you on has helped. But
I appreciate that.
Again, wow. What the heck?
I think everybody shares your sentiments there, Snowman. Wow, what is going on?
What the hell happened? I finally said it. People have been waiting for me to say it. My friends get a hold of me and they said, you haven't asked the one question we're waiting for you to ask. My wife looked at me and said the same thing. She's like, I'm so surprised you didn't say the question you wanted to say. Well, now y'all have heard me say it. You heard me say it at the top of hour one. You're hearing me saying it now. What the hell happened?
Snowman, I guess I had to bring that up. I had to bring it out of you, huh?
I tried being good about it, okay? And look, I'm making a joke of this, folks, but I'm not making a joke of the coronavirus, all right? We want you to please continue to take care of yourselves so this can be defeated immediately and some kind of normalcy can resume. Wash your hands whenever you come out of the bathroom or wherever you do anything. Sanitize your hands. Keep yourself in a good, healthy rhythm, okay? If you feel sick, stay home, please, okay? If you're sneezing and coughing and you feel any kind of fever or flu symptoms come around, do not, please, folks, I beg of you, do not take any chances. Just stay home and get well, okay? I make light of this situation, but I'm not making too light of it because it can happen to anybody, including yours truly. That's why I'm making sure I keep myself healthy. Drink plenty of fluids. You know, if you can get your exercise in the house, please do that. But we just want everyone to take care of themselves. Now, on to Transition Tuesday. What you got for me? And I think I know what the answer is.
Well, as we transition to our new normal, not only in sports but in life, got some game plan steps, some GPSs I like to call it. And the first GPS I have is I'm going to take a quote from Brad Pitt in the movie Moneyball, and he said the following: "Adapt or die."
Yes,
we have to take this approach when we're transitioning to the new normal. The new normal for us is going to be how we adapt when our sports come back.
Right.
The NBA is slated to come back. The NBA is slated to come back in June or July. We have to adapt to that process. All the different sporting events and everything. We have to adapt. We also have to adapt to what's being shown now. So if you have to go on NBA TV and watch, the finals in 1995 and 94, it's a matter we just have to adapt.
Yeah.
And we have no choice. You either adapt or either you die, as Brad Pitt eloquently said. So that's the first GPS. Yep. Second GPS, and I think this could be related to like sports and in life, more in life, is we have to be kind to one another, especially in this crisis. We got to be kind to one another.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost you much at all. I'll share a story with you, Snowman. I'm in the supermarket. I live here in New York, so the pandemic has really hit New York pretty hard.
Yeah.
But you always have an opportunity to be kind to one another. I'm shopping in the supermarket. It was this elderly lady, it was a small lady she had a mask on, she had her gloves on and everything. She was trying to reach up to the counter to get a can of peas. Obviously, she couldn't do it. So she just summons to me. She goes, "Hey, you mind helping me?" Now, I'm 6'4" and I can help her. I could have took the approach, be like, "Hey, lady, I'm trying to get my stuff like you."
Exactly.
Disregard that. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to be kind to this lady. This lady reached out to me, and I was kind to that person. So it's contagious. It doesn't cost anything. And I think when we're kind to one another, especially in this pandemic and in this crisis that we're going through, you have no choice to be good and to be kind. And that's how we get through the process. We get through the process together by being kind to one another.
Absolutely.
And showing each other empathy as well, too. I think we've missed the boat on this. We got to empathize with people. We got to empathize with those people. Like I went to BJ's. And I was shopping there, and it was a long line. So you had people arguing with the people who were checking you out.
Right.
You got to empathize with these people. You got to put yourself in their shoes. How would you feel? So you got to empathize with each other, and you got to be kind to one another. So these are the two GPSs that we have to really practice when we're transitioning to our new normal.
So true. So true. And kindness is going to help us get through this more than anything else. Taking care of yourself is one thing. Staying home while you're feeling sick is another thing. But the kindness, and you hit on it so expertly, my friend, the kindness is going to get us through.
And you know what, too, Snowman? I'm hoping ESPN is kind with us, the viewers, because I know they've been teasing that Michael Jordan, that 10-part documentary saying coming soon.
Yep.
They need to be kind to us. They need to put that out now instead of waiting till June. That way we can be kind to each other by watching that.
So
we need some help out of here, Snowman.
You know why they're waiting till June, right? They anticipated waiting, I believe, until the end of the World Championship Series. Yeah, they were waiting till till the end of the World Championship Series, and I think all the footage, from what I've been told, is from 1998, which is why it's expertly titled "The Last Dance." All they needed to do was to come to me or a few others from Chicago that lived that last dance. But I've seen clips of it. I've seen and heard how ultra competitive Michael Jordan is. I mean, come on, who didn't know that? Who didn't know how ultra competitive Michael Jordan is? And we'll close with this note. It's a big difference between today's NBA and the NBA back in the 80s and the 90s. Would you not agree with that?
I definitely agree. Absolutely. The physicality, yes, true. That is so much true. That's the major difference.
I mean, you don't – I tell you what's fun. I found some old Philadelphia 76er games, and I'm talking about 1980 through 1986, where the changing of the guard happened from Julius Erving to Charles Barkley. I found all of the World Championship Series games when they swept the Lakers, and I'll leave you with two names, Maurice Cheeks and Andrew Toney.
Ooh, Andrew Toney, the Boston Strangler. That guy doesn't get enough credit.
Absolutely. It's just so sad that his career was besieged by foot injuries. Imagine how much he would have done in Philadelphia, because he spent his entire career in Philadelphia. Imagine how much more he would have put up if Cheeks and Toney were to have stayed together in the backcourt at least until the end of 1989 or the end of 1990. Because after Toney, unfortunately, was forced to retire, that's when Philadelphia drafted Hersey Hawkins to move into that spot. But just imagine if you want a what if, I'll leave y'all with this before we go to break. What if Andrew Toney could have stayed healthy for his entire career instead of having it be besieged by foot injuries? Man.
That is so true. Yeah. Very underrated player, Andrew Toney. Great player. You know what I used to like too, Snowman? I used to love Bobby Jones.
There you go.
Here's a guy, white guy, who's dunking on people and everything. I used to like that guy. The Secretary of Defense.
And I have a game in my files now in its entirety. It was aired on CBS in 1986 where the 76ers broke a long Celtic winning streak with a 3 by Julius Erving. It was in the Spectrum in Philadelphia against Boston, and the strangest of occurrences, Larry Bird missed 2 free throws to open the door.
Whoa.
You don't.
We'll probably see that game. That game will probably appear on NBA TV as our new normal right now.
Look,
so we'll probably get a chance to see that game. There's no match.
If I can help it, I'll air it through my YouTube channel. Make sure all the credits go where they need to go, and people will understand the kind of NBA you and I grew up with. That's Russ Williams. R Will Transition is how you can find him on Twitter. R Will Transitions, pluralize that, is how you can find him on Instagram. And reach out to this man on Facebook. He has Transition Tuesdays every Tuesday night. It's a fabulous program. I was a part of it. And you got another podcast you got going, do you not?
Yes, I do. The Russ and Kayla Niece Experience. You can hear it on iTunes and Spotify and Google Podcasts and all and major podcast platforms as well.
Well, you can count me as a subscriber. I had a chance to listen to it, and I absolutely love it. Keep doing it, my friend. Thanks for the time.
No problem. Thank you, Snowman. I'm going to have you on there as well, too.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. And I can't wait to get back to y'all in a deuce.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
So I had a chance to be on this podcast called Weapons Hot, and it concerns the New York Jets. Now you're going to be asking, the hell are you doing on a Jets podcast? Well, a friend of mine hosts it. His name is CJ DeSimone. B, he's agreed to join me. And C, I decided to freak him out with an impression of a popular New York sports talk radio show host by the name of Joe Beningo. And I had him and his partner cracking up laughing when I busted out an impression, and I hope you're going to hear him laugh, folks. I busted out an impression to the tune of, and then there's the Jets. What a disgrace.
I figured you were going to bring me in with that kind of an intro, of course.
I had to. How you doing, CJ? Good to have you.
It's good to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Now, folks, I'll make sure I post the link to that podcast where I appeared, because I told you I had these two cracking up with my Beningo impression, but I hear that New York drawl all inside and outside of you, and I knew I had to have fun with it.
Of course. Why not?
And of course, I had to.
It's all in good fun, you know that.
I know. It's in good fun. Of course, I had to hit him with a couple of Beningoisms, like, "What, are you kidding me?" I had to hit him with the "Are you kidding me?" What a disgrace. And, of course, what's the one thing that Joe Beningo wants so badly? To see the Jets win the Super Bowl, right?
Of course.
So, of course, I gave him a little bit of, I'm going to die out here without the Jets winning the Super Bowl. Great. Just great. How long suffering of a Jets fan are you? I got to hear this.
Okay, well, I first became a Jets fan in 1979. One of my favorite players growing up was Bobby Jackson, who played cornerback for the New York Jets. The majority of my friends were all Giant fans, so, I needed to be different. So
that's like me with the White Sox and the Cubs.
Some days I ponder the sanity of the decision that I made, but you know what? Gangrene has given me some good memories, also some bad. A lot of frustration within this fan base because of how long they've been suffering, and just the litany just goes on and on. I mean, all-time favorite player obviously is Don Maynard from the 1968 World Championship team.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, being a Jets fan is like there are days where you are proud, you beat your chest and you wear your gear with pride, and there are days where you want to curl up into the fetal position and go in the corner of the nearest room and just cry like post-traumatic stress disorder. But, nevertheless, believe it or not, the younger generation has not really suffered as much as the older generation. Now, for me, I'm going on 40 years being a Jets fan. So,
you're right up there with Beningo. You're right up there with Joe.
So I've got a lot of suffering that I can, that I can definitely go through.
This is where I pick on my friend. This is where I pick on my friend, folks, and I do it in fun. Y'all chose Ken O'Brien over Dan Marino?
Oh, please. Yeah. Yep, that actually happened. But look, for what it's worth, Ken O'Brien really was a good quarterback. Now, was he a franchise quarterback?
No.
Absolutely not. Okay. Joe Walton, when he was head coach of the Jets, made a few moves that kind of made everybody scratch their heads. There were times where, you wanted to scream. And, Walt Michaels did a good job. I mean, he got the Jets to an AFC championship game in which they lost the Mud Bowl to the Miami Dolphins.
1982.
Richard Todd ended up throwing 4 interceptions in that game.
2 of them went to A.J. Dewey, and they were both returned for touchdowns, and that was the difference of the game. He doesn't throw those really 2, it's still scoreless, and who knows how long they play. But he threw 2 to A.J. Dewey, and Dewey returned them both for touchdowns. Crazy.
Yeah, I'll tell you an interesting factoid about that game.
All right.
Is and this is something that a lot of people really don't know. You can go and look it up in your Jets history. I know a lot of the older fans will hear, and you have your conspiracy theorists, of course, because what's being a Jets fan without having a conspiracy theorist part of your repertoire. So one of the things was that the night before, the Jets coaches and some of the players had went to go inspect the field, and they had put a complaint against with the NFL about the condition of the field. So instead that they just put some sod in the middle, and you could just see how well that worked out. So it's enough to make my mind go numb, just some of the things. But, hey, let's face it, in the late 70s and the early 80s, they did not have the technology that we have today. We have field turf.
Yep.
Okay, they actually go and take more precautions with the players when they're going out there in the inspections of the turf. And if there's any type of issue with that turf, they're not playing that game on that turf.
Absolutely.
I remember a couple of years ago, we were supposed to play a game over in Mexico City, which was a big deal for the NFL. They ended up canceling that game because the condition of the field was crappy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course, now you got MetLife Stadium.
Instead of going to be taking the field, even though it is right at the stadium, they still had issues with the sod, with the players being able to run proper routes.
Yep.
With and if you, God forbid, you get a wide receiver who's running 10, 15 miles an hour top speed or whatever, and they go and they make a plant, and that foot doesn't come up from the ground, you could end somebody's career like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't really understand that point. So that's the reason why, the NFL now has a lot more rules in place than they did back in the 70s, back in the 80s and stuff like that. We're not going to see games like the Mud Bowl anymore. We're not going to see games like the Ice Bowl anymore.
Yeah.
Where it was like the field was in treacherous conditions and everything just looked like complete crap.
Mm-hmm.
And guys were playing in dust, and in mud. I mean, we're not going to see those conditions anymore.
No.
And in a way, it's kind of a checks and balance, because that game, the game that was played back then, was a different game than what we watch on television today.
It is very, very different. What you suffered through with the Mud Bowl in 82, I suffered through with the 49ers in 92, January 93, when Candlestick Park was torn to shreds, and the Cowboys came in and played a perfect game and beat us. So trust me, I understand that feeling all so well. 2 years later, we got even, and the Cowboys were complaining, but I'm not going to say anything. Let's move to your podcast. Tell me how you got that started.
Well, believe it or not, I've actually been doing the podcast for a little over 6 years now. I actually started the podcast with a buddy of mine. His name is Carlos Sardinas. And believe it or not, it was actually our wives' idea to come up with the podcast. So initially, my wife had said to us, you guys are just like Mike and Mike in the Morning back then, which was really, really popular on ESPN, ESPN2.
Yes.
So, and she had said, you guys would be able to do a sports talk show with no problem. So we actually started looking into it, and we started looking into different podcasts and getting ideas about what it would take. So Carlos and I, right around April 13th, we launched our first episode of the CNC Football Factory on blogtalkradio.com. Never forget it. We actually started with the help of a good buddy of ours who actually at that time had his own podcast going from the UK. His name is Julian Carter. He actually was the host of the Green Zone radio show. So he was a little bit of an inspiration for us, and kind of we picked his brain on what platform should we use, what should we do, how do we do this. So we did a lot of stuff doing trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
Well, needless to say, Carlos stayed for a little while. We continued on. We ended up changing the name over from the CNC Football Factory to the CNC Sports Factory, where we decided we were not only going to incorporate Jets football, but we were going to talk a little hockey, a little baseball, a little Knicks. That was short-lived. So we ended up switching back over to the football segment. So from there, we just continued on. We actually changed the name. We kept CNC Football Factory for a little while. I'd say about a good 3-4 years. We kept CNC Football Factory. Then we decided to switch the name over to the Jets Factor. So we had the Jets Factor podcast going on. At that time, Carlos had left the show for a little while due to some personal reasons, and just it was being a strain on him, seeing that his job was taking him all over the country, and he wasn't really able to contribute to the podcast the way that he would have liked. So I continued on, had a bunch of different guests on for co-hosts and stuff like that. Never really had a steady co-host, but continued on again. And then Carlos ended up rejoining me for a little bit last year. Then again, he just felt like his heart wasn't in it anymore. So he decided to step away. So I decided it was time for a little bit of a reboot at the end of the 2019 season. So it took a month hiatus as we said goodbye to Jets Factor, rebranded the show with everything, and now launching a brand new show with my co-host Kevin Jackson, otherwise known as Spotty Blackman on Twitter, with the title Weapons Hot, a New York Jets podcast. And believe it or not, funny story, how I actually came across the name Weapons Hot was from the movie Outbreak.
Right.
Believe it or not. So from the movie Outbreak, which is kind of ironic because we're in the middle of a global pandemic here. Mm-hmm. So for those who don't know the movie Outbreak, it is currently showing on Netflix. I invite you to go and watch it. With Dustin Hoffman and Cuba Gooding Jr. and Donald Sutherland, who actually looks like a normal human being and not like one of the dregs of society that they like dug out of a closet somewhere and dusted some mothballs off of. So, needless to say, there's a chopper flight scene in there where the pilots are saying, okay, it's time to go Weapons Hot. And that kind of stuck with me. So believe it or not, Weapons Hot was actually a segment during the Jets Factor podcast.
Right.
And I actually thought to myself, okay, I did it for several episodes, and then I started changing format a little bit where I felt like as much as I wanted to do it, I felt like it didn't fit, so I put it on the back burner. So hence when I decided to end the Jets Factor podcast and I was trying to come up with a different name, that name kind of circled back around, and I was saying to myself, I think that'd be pretty cool, call the podcast Weapons Hot. That's what I think it would be. So, I actually talked about it with my wife, Cindy, and, I asked her, I was like, what would you think? So, I value my wife's opinion very much. And she's, I've always bounced different ideas for podcasting off of her if they sound, okay or not. Now, mind you, my wife is a diehard Eagles fan. So, yeah, that's enough said. I'm just going to leave it there.
You talk about a house. You talk about a house divided, okay?
But any ideas that I have for the podcast, I always pop by my wife to see how she would think. Obviously, she's more of a casual fan. She's not like a diehard Eagles fan, but her dad was an Eagles fan when they lived in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. When they moved down here when she was very small. Then he ended up becoming a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan. I will not root for that fan base. I'm sorry. I will not root for that team. No way, no how.
Say no more.
So anyhow, moving on from that, she still remained an Eagles fan. So, naturally, again, just to reiterate, I know it's probably like the third time I've said this, but any ideas that I have,
right.
With the podcast that I want to do, I run by her because her being a casual fan, if I'll do something or say something that will catch her attention, being the more casual fan, then I know that someone out there who may have a minimal interest may say, well, let me go ahead and check this out.
Mm-hmm.
So, believe it or not, here we are. Wow, I'm going on 6 years. Podcast, actually a little over 6 years. Yeah, over 6 years.
Fabulous.
Podcast. So it's a lot of fun. I love the platform to be able to get my my voice and my opinions out there. Hey, look, not everybody agrees with my opinion, and that's fine.
But it's in fun though. And I had a chance to appear on Weapons Hot. And folks, like I said, you got to check it out. It's a hilarious episode and it's a fabulous podcast. But man, I want to thank you so much for not only being on this show, but inviting me on the Weapons Hot. We had a ball with that episode we did a couple Sundays ago, man.
Yeah, absolutely we did. I mean, especially, you brought up the 4-letter word, which is Mike McCagnon on the show, because that's always fun. So, and we did highlight, we did highlight some of the moves that the Jets need to make in free agency. The Jets actually have made quite a few moves. As a matter of fact, making a couple of moves today, bringing back James Burgess and Jordan Jenkins on 1 year deal, on 1 year show me prove it or 1 year prove it deals. So I really like the direction that Joe Douglas is heading.
Yeah,
he's bringing guys in for short term contracts because he wants to see who is committed to the rebuild.
Right. And
I think this is an attitude that the New York Jets and the New York Jet fans are not really used to seeing, used to being exposed to. And in my opinion, this is how championship football teams are built. Because when you go and take a look at teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, okay, lately now the San Francisco 49ers, the Kansas City Chiefs, okay, other teams that are constantly in the conversation for the playoffs, the New Orleans Saints, the Green Bay Packers, okay. What do all of those teams have in common? I'll pose that question to you. What do all of those teams that I just mentioned have in common, Brian?
Are you talking about on the field or off it? Well, off the field, continuity. Sean Payton, the longtime coach of the New Orleans Saints. Kyle Shanahan, locked down for 5 years with the 49ers. Continuity off the field. On the field, what I see in common with most of those teams is a running game.
Right. And what the word that I'm kind of looking for, you actually said everything but the word that I was looking for, and you're correct in all of your responses. Okay, the things that these teams have in common, one is synergy. Synergy is when all parts, players, management, coaching, owners, everybody has a similar goal. They have a similar focus. They're all on the same page. They know exactly what needs to get done and know what needs to happen in short order. Okay, so the choice is either get on board or get out.
Get out.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Okay? And they make no bones. We have seen many a player, okay, players that we thought, nobody's going to cut this guy. They're a superstar. Okay? Look at Antonio Brown, aside from all of his mental illness and stuff like that. Aside
from
all of that.
He got cut after one game with the Patriots.
Right.
He got cut after one game with the New England Patriots.
In which he caught a touchdown.
Yes. In a shutout, no less. A shutout.
So the things that make teams like the Patriots successful, the Packers successful, the Saints successful, the Steelers successful, the Ravens successful, is synergy, because everyone has a vision.
Right.
They have a plan. They stick to the plan. They build through fundamentally sound picks, complemented by free agency.
Right.
Okay. What's been the Jets' biggest problem for the past 6 freaking years, Brian?
The draft.
Tell me.
The draft.
Thank you. Okay. Mike McCagnon was brought in, and pretty much over his 5 to 6 year tenure had probably close to $450 million in salary cap space.
Yep.
I want you to think about that for $450 million
bucks.
Okay, to spend on free agency. And out of that $450 million of free agency, do you know what we got? We got 1-10-6 record, where a Kembrell Tompkins catch as opposed to a drop maybe gets the Jets into the playoffs.
Right.
Buffalo year 1, and then perpetual 5-11 hell for the next 5 years afterwards.
5-11, 6-10, all of that. You know, the Jets haven't had a good draft in a long, long time. And I know a lot of Jet fans have a long memory of this, for lack of a better term, horrible history of drafting. I mentioned one already at the top of this conversation. Ken O'Brien, who was a good serviceable quarterback for the Jets, but you had Dan Marino lurking in the shadows. You had John Elway lurking in the shadows. And they didn't take either of those two. Either of them.
Right. So when I continue on and I talk more about the New York Jets and the need for the fan base to be patient, which I hate to use that word patient, because you're talking about a fan base that has been asked to be patient
for
year
after
year after year after year, and they constantly get the backhand.
Right.
Okay, they get the backhand from management. They get the backhand from the coaching staff. Okay, where they get rewarded for their loyalty with less than desired results.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the beautiful thing that I love about Joe Douglas. Okay. Joe Douglas takes over this GM job with 3 Super Bowl rings, my friend, where he was a part of. Okay, where he was an integral part of. Where he was Ozzie Newsome's right-hand man,
right?
Basically. Okay, so he learned everything he learned everything about free agency, cap management, drafting, etc. through Ozzie Newsome. He took that knowledge, went to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yep.
Okay, was a part of the management group, okay, that hired Doug Peterson.
Right.
Okay. Doug Peterson was not really a fan favorite in Philadelphia, much like Adam Gase is not a fan favorite here in New York.
In New York.
Very bumptious with the media, issues with players, etc., etc. Okay. What did Peterson do that Adam Gase hasn't done? He's won a Super Bowl.
Yep.
He's got that big piece of hardware on his hand. Okay?
Yeah.
And you know who else has that big piece of hardware on his hand? Joe Douglas.
Joe Douglas.
So when he comes in as general manager of the New York Jets, he's got 3 Super Bowl rings.
Yep.
That's 3 more than any other idiot they could have dragged through the doors of one Jet Drive.
Yeah.
Okay?
So true. So true.
So now, when you take a look at everything, all of the signings that Joe Douglas has accomplished up to this point, he's brought guys in that are, number one, you want to play here. B, they're on prove-it deals. Because you're not going to be here. I'm actually going to quote my good friend, Jeff Magliochetti, who made an appearance on the Weapon Top podcast last night. I invite everyone to go and take a listen on Spreaker.com/Sports War Radio, and of course on SoundCloud.com. Shameless plug there, of course. His words exactly on the podcast were this: Joe Douglas is taking the attitude with the free agents that if you are not going to come here and prove that you want to be a part of this, or you want to be a part of this rebuild, then don't think that you're going to be here when the turnaround finally takes place.
Exactly.
And we're starting for the glory days. So if you're going to be here for the glory days, then you need to pitch into the rebuild.
Yeah.
So and for years the New York Jets have been the old age retirement home of the NFL.
Right.
And we finally got ourselves out of that. We finally got rid of all the Jericho. Okay, we got rid of all the prune juice. We found Todd Bowles' stash of Thorazine. We got rid of all of that. Okay, we found the naked pictures of Mike Cagnan that both Ben Aguilana and freaking Brent Cavalli were hiding in their lockers. Okay, they got rid of those.
Yep.
Okay, they got rid of D. Milliner and the vaginitis, the chronic vaginitis that was running rampant through the locker room. Missing injury.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so they got rid of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now this is no longer your father's New York Jets. This is no longer your older brother's New York Jets. Hell, this is not even your older brother's your twin brother's New York Jets.
Right.
This is an entirely new outlook on the franchise. This is an entirely new outlook on the future, and this is an entirely new era.
Yeah.
Where the only people that we want playing for the New York Jets are those that are committed to win. Committed to, as I like to say, slaying the dragon.
Yeah.
You know what the dragon is? The dragon is win a Super Bowl.
Win a Super Bowl. Win a Super Bowl. Because I can so relate to that, because after 2012, when my 49ers got to the Super Bowl and lost to, oddly enough, the Baltimore Ravens and Ray Lewis's swan song, we went through a pit. We went through a pit of hell with incompetent coaches, incompetent ownership, everything, incompetent players. Does the name Colin Kaepernick mean anything to y'all? And anyone who's heard my rant on Colin Kaepernick knows I'm not backing up from those words. And a quick sidebar, then we got to go to a break. I do not back up from my words, and I'm not going to. I say Colin Kaepernick played himself out of the league because his play diminished. and now he wants to make it political, saying they're blackballing him from the league. Okay, when you decide to throw more touchdowns than interceptions, then we can have a conversation, and I'll leave it at that. I'm coming up against the break, but I'd love to have you back on for another episode, so we'll get it together, my friend. This is CJ DeSimone, the man in charge of the Weapons Hot New York Jets podcast. Go check it out, folks. An absolutely fabulous podcast. And if you're a Jets fan, you want to follow him. He's got all the news, the notes, and the quotes to take you through the 2020 New York Jets.
Ladies and gentlemen,
season.
can I please have your attention?
Are you ready? I said, are you ready? You're rocking with the heavyweight champs of sports talk.
Don't act like you're not impressed.
Brandon Way and Brandon Rudolph.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
Tune in to Opinionated Facts, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. on the RTF Sports Network. And we're back again every Sunday at 12 noon on Facebook Live.
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Only on the Opinionated Facts Facebook page, presented by TCP Network.
What's going on, everybody? Whether you're practicing social distancing of 6 feet up to 6 miles, you can still party with On and Off the Field, where you can listen to the best NFL and charity-based podcasts out there on the RTF Sports Network. You can follow them on Facebook or go to rtfsportsnetwork.com and check out the show Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Coming up next here at the 4 p.m. hour is Daily BS with your host, Brian Snow from Snowman in the Morning. Enjoy.
You're tuned in to the Daily BS.
Do you believe it?
Sports and culture combined into one.
Michael on the drive across the lane. Turnaround shot. Got it. 63 for Jordan. Are you kidding me? He did what?
The Daily BS begins.
Bazinga!
Right now.
Great. Googly moogly.
Hadouken!
Hey, this promises to be fun.
Can't wait.
Well, good afternoon, folks. Brian Snow is here and with you, and we're ready to get down to some Daily BS business, sports and culture combined into one. You can hear a replay of this show 1 hour after its completion, and the premiere of the Daily BS podcast will also be available 1 hour after this show's completion. We are on all kinds of networks and stations all across the country. Well, let me use my normal phrase, in the region, across the nation, and around the world. So if you're in your car on the drive home and you got me via your phone, via your laptop, via whatever, welcome to the Daily BS, and let old Brian take you home with some great sports and culture talk. All right, enough introductions. Let's get started. We roll on here on the program, and I am excited to welcome one half of the Legacy Maker Sports Show, which is another guilty pleasure of mine. This is Jake Quimby, and he joins me right now. JQ, what's up?
How you doing, Snowman?
Doing good, doing good. Now, these guys had me on their show to preview the NFC Championship, and I warned them ahead of time that Green Bay was going to get blasted. So I get a little bit of pleasure of saying I was right. Green Bay got blasted.
I was just trying to, look out for my brother and
I know.
My friend and give them a little comfort. But yeah, they got wrecked.
Why? And then they draft let's dive right in. And then they draft a quarterback. Why'd the Packers do that?
Well, some of the things that you see from Jordan Love, not this previous year, but the year before that, he showed very good signs of, being kind of, I don't want to say Pat Mahomes because some of the angles that he throws at, I mean, nobody can do that. But he's got a lot of intangibles that you need for a quarterback, and for him to fall down that far, and with Aaron being 37, why not take a guy, let him set, let him learn? I know Aaron doesn't play well with others, but he got to get over himself and look what's best for the Packers.
I love that. Aaron Rodgers is definitely a diva. From what I'm hearing, though, he did reach out to Jordan Love the same way, or not in the same way that Brett Favre tried to didn't reach out to Aaron Rodgers. So there's that. But as you said, Aaron Rodgers has got to get over himself. And some of these Aaron Rodgers fans, and I love them dearly, they got to realize Aaron's old. Aaron's 37 now.
Right. I mean, I'm skeptical because, we traded both of our fourths away, and I was hoping to get like a James Morgan or somebody like that to put behind Tom Brady. Because I don't like Tom Brady. I don't like Gronk, but I like winning because I haven't done much of that in the last, 12 plus years. But, I want somebody to learn from them.
I laugh because I feel your pain, because until this year I went through the same kind of pain with San Francisco. So trust me, I understand.
You guys got one heck of a steal with that trade for Trent Williams.
Yeah.
I tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, Staley retiring, Trent Williams coming in. I mean, amazing. And with him taking that time off, you're going to get another 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm. And here's the other thing. They jettisoned DeForest Buckner, send him to Indianapolis, which put a big smile on my wife's face because she's a big-time Colts fan. But then they draft Javon Kinlaw, and he's a perfect fit for that defensive line and that defensive scheme.
But I understand. Darrell and I actually talked about this because they didn't want to pay Buckner.
Right.
And they get Kinlaw. And Kinlaw, in my opinion, is a bit more of a monster at, the point of attack than what, Buckner is. So they played it great. I mean, they played us, by making us flip one pick with them.
Yep.
Because honestly, if we didn't flip one pick to give them a little more, they were going to take Wirfs. And I love the pick of Wirfs. I think he'll be a better left tackle than Donovan Smith.
Right.
But you guys didn't have many picks after the first round.
Mm-hmm. So we had to go for it. We had to go for it now. We had to go for it now.
There's so many different things. I feel for the Philly fans, though, because the Jalen Hurts one was like a kick in the nuggets to everybody, man.
Yeah, does that signal the end of the Carson Wentz era?
Well, I want to say no, just because when Wentz is healthy, and knock on wood, when, he's a great quarterback, and they gave up the farm to move up to get him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't have a justifiable backup for him. And Jalen Hurts is not a bad quarterback, and he does everything that Wentz can, but stays healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a health question again with Wentz. I don't think he's played a full season yet, if I'm right.
No, you're 100% correct, I believe. He takes those hits, and he is not built to be a runner at all. And then again, Peters is gone, and they got what was his name, Dillard last year.
Yeah,
and Dillard is not Peters. I'm sorry,
he's not.
There's
really
no
isn't.
replacing a Jason Peters type of player.
There's no replacing him. There's no replacing him at all. And plus, will the receivers be healthy? Because half of their receiving core was injured.
Well, yeah. But Jefferson had Liz Frank, and then you had or Jeffries. I'm sorry. Jackson's always broken because he's old now.
Yeah.
JJ Whiteside, I can never say his name. He never got a chance to get on the field, so it just this is there's still so much talent at wide receiver. They need to take like 6 more, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think of the Cowboys drafting CeeDee Lamb to pair him opposite Amari Cooper?
I actually said this earlier to a Cowboys fan I know. I'm impressed with their draft so far. I've gotten really nothing negative to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
That CD falls to them, and then you got Cooper and then Gallup.
Yeah,
he was no slump monster. So I love it. Absolutely love what they've done, and it hurts me because I hate the Cowboys. Just out of pure, because everybody loves them. I can't stand the Cowboys, but they've done great.
Yeah, they have. I figured I'd explain this to you. I didn't get a chance to do it on your show. This is the biggest reason why I hate the Cowboys. When Joe Montana hit Dwight Clark in the back of the end zone, it shut the Cowboy fans up and shut the Cowboys up. I've been a 49er fan.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a 49er fan since then. My 4th grade teacher was a Cowboy fan, and she was talking junk all week saying, we're going to beat San Francisco. And finally, I got tired. And I said, no, you're not. We're going to beat you guys. I earned a few cupcakes for it because I won a bet, but Montana may be a 49er for life. And speaking of the 49ers, what do you think of them drafting Brandon Ayuk? Again, 2nd straight year they go with a receiver late in the 1st round.
They kind of had to replace Sanders. And then also, if you look, I've heard whispers that Godwin might be on the move today.
Yeah. I heard those whispers also. Talking NFL draft with Jay Quimby, one half of the Legacy Makers Sports Podcast. Besides Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts, what do you think, or which pick do you think was the biggest surprise?
Biggest surprise so far. I mean, I can go like 50,000 different ways here, Snowman. I mean, it's okay. Biggest surprise, which everybody called it, but I don't like, and everybody's grading it and saying it's great. I like this player's character, his fire, but Tua, I don't like Tua going that high to them. Tua's got way too many health issues.
Yep.
I think we're going to see Carson Wentz all over again because he likes to run.
Yep.
Just, you go back and you can, 3 different leg injuries that I can think of off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that pick for Miami to start building on.
I thought they would go offensive line to protect the quarterback.
Oh, I agree 100% with you. I thought they would go the same way. They tried to move up to 1 to get Burrow and offered all 3 first-round picks they had plus next year's first. And Cincinnati said no.
Yeah.
Which time will tell whether it was a good idea or not.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So,
they draft T. Higgins for Burrow to throw to, but I've said this on my program, and you've heard me say it, and I posted it. I'm not too high on Burrow. A flash in the pan kind of year, and he's the Heisman Trophy winner, and he's the number 1 overall pick, not to mention the national champion. He did all that in a year. I want to see some consistency from Joe Burrow. We're going to find that out in Cincinnati this coming year.
well, I got to see a lot of where he was in the spring game and a lot of practice tape on him where he lost out the starting job at Ohio State, Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah.
And, I mean, in that offense, and you lose out to Haskins, who honestly only started one game. You know, he wasn't even a starter in high school.
Right.
So it just makes, I agree with you, you know, and then you look at all the offensive talent around him, any person that went there to be a quarterback would have just shot up the board. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Indeed. So it'll be a lot. It's going to be a lot to see. It's going to be a lot to see, man.
Be a lot to see. I mean, there's so many variables into it. You know, like the Browns pick, they got another LSU stud, air quote, in the second round in Grant DePitt. But once again, he was the guy that had ankle issues.
Mm-hmm.
A guy I've seen fall that's still on the board, hold on, unless the Jets pick him right here, is Bryce Hall. And Bryce Hall was a top 10 pick at the beginning of last season.
Yeah.
So it's just injuries can do so much to different things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think Burrow will put butts in the stands for Cincinnati. You know, change a little bit.
But if you don't have a complete, offense, and I love T. Higgins going to Cincinnati, you can put all the butts in the stands that you want. If you ain't putting wins on the board, they're going to disappear again.
I completely agree with you. And that defense is older than you and I combined. So, you know, they got a lot of the guys from Minnesota.
Yep.
Brought them in secondary wise from the free agency. I just, that defense, I don't trust that defense, and the offense is going to have to put up a lot of points to keep up.
Yeah, that's about the size of it. I'm going to have this man back on later on this week to wrap up the entire draft, and we're going to start going team by team, and I'm going to do that with a lot of my guests coming up here in the future. This man is Jay Quimby, one half of the Legacy Makers Sports Podcast. It's a very guilty pleasure of mine. It's a wonderful show. I invite you guys to go check it out. JQ, a pleasure, my man. I look forward to having you on a lot more.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
More, I say, after this.
You're tuned in to the Daily BS. Sports and culture combined into one.
So I had one half of the Legacy Maker Sports Podcast on the program, and now I get the other half. And Mr. Darrell Owens, a very dear friend of mine. Darrell, how are you, man?
What's up, Snowman? How's it going, brother?
It's weird. Besides the draft, no sports going on. People tell me, you got no reason to rant and rave on the Lakers, and you know why I do that. I haven't had Darrell on in a while, so we're just going to catch up on a lot of things. First and foremost, I told you your team would get their butts kicked.
Yeah. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, as a fan, I had to go in there and say, all right, you got to have some hope,
right?
But I'll be honest with you, I knew weeks before, I was like, this is not the matchup I wanted. This is not the matchup I wanted. So, I mean, it happened. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I felt about it is I felt like if we could have scored early, maybe we could have kept it close. If
y'all would have gotten,
it was just bad.
If y'all would have gotten a touchdown and made it either tied the game 7 apiece or made it 10-7, I figured it would be a ball game. But 27-0,
not at all. Not at all. It was bad early, and it's been a rough. We've been in 3 NFC Championship games since Aaron Rodgers went to the Super Bowl, and all 3 of them have been just terrible.
Blowouts. They've been blowouts.
I mean, the Seahawks should have won. The Seahawks won.
Yes,
that was ours. They had 5 minutes ago. Should have won that one.
Right.
Got destroyed against Atlanta in Atlanta, and then get destroyed in San Francisco. And my whole thing is Aaron Rodgers has never had an NFC Championship game at home.
No,
every single one has been on the road.
Yep.
And I'm just like, man, can we just get one at home and see what happens? Now you know why I wanted that 1 seed so bad. But I don't know if it would have made that much of a difference, but at least it would have felt a little bit better if we had a shot at home. But,
and the crazy thing is, I mentioned this to a mutual buddy of ours, Trey Larkins, who's going to be on the show later this week. I mentioned this to him. I mentioned this to him, and I mentioned it to you. How can you be blown out by a team that threw the ball 8 times?
This is something I said right after the game. I think the last time the Packers had a true good run defense was 1997.
Yes.
I feel like it's been 20 years. If you look back in we may have had a couple years here and there where we were all right. I think maybe like 4 or 5 years back, we were like 7th in the league in run defense, which I couldn't believe.
Right.
And then when we went right back to the old ways the next season, and that was the season that I think Aaron had got hurt.
Yes.
So it was just like we haven't had a good run defense since the days of Reggie White Incorporated.
Yeah.
So even the year we won the Super Bowl, we weren't phenomenal. And I think that with that, we just eventually, you gotta, we gotta fix the run. And I don't know if it's ever going to happen, Snowman. I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
Well, it didn't happen that Sunday when y'all allowed, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, even though it's my team, 285 rushing yards.
I believe it, Snowman. I mean, let's take it back to 2013 when Kaepernick almost ran for 200.
Right.
He did it twice. So for me, and then that's another thing. Playing San Francisco in the playoffs, I was like, come on. No, can we do it? It's got to be somebody else. So give me somebody different. Somebody that I was like, oh, maybe there's a chance. And I'm not saying it, I don't think I still feel like we could have won that game if we, had a jump start. It just wasn't going to happen. As soon as I saw how that first drive went for Saturday, this is not good. I said, and I knew it. I said, Morse's about to hit. I said, 300 yards rushing. It's going to be stupid. And so that's what happened.
And Raheem Mostert dropped 229 on you guys rushing.
That's what I'm saying. 229. Come on.
229 and 4 scores. He dropped 229 and 4 scores. I've shared this story. I shared this story on the program, and I'll have to share it again. My wife's team is the Indianapolis Colts, and we always watch the Colts games. And we get into it. She's never had a chance to see me get into it with my team, which of course is the 49ers, until this year. And when the NFC champion, I got to share this. When the NFC championship happened, and bless her heart, she says, I'm only going to make it through the first quarter, and then I got to crash because we had both been working most of the day. I said, all right.
Mm-hmm.
When Mostert scored that first touchdown, I scared everybody in the house because I was that excited. I was that excited. My wife comes up to me, and I'm banging on the desk. My wife is just looking at me with this big grin on her face, and I caught myself, and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And she says, "Is this not?" And she's just as calm as ever. She goes, "Is this not your team?" Yes. Have you not been a fan of this team forever? Yes. Then shut up and cheer for them. Okay. And next time Frisco scored a touchdown, made it 17-0. My dog leapt in my lap.
Oh man, I just know I sat in my chair, and as it started to happen, I started shaking my head, and I was like, why? You know, and then we were 17-0, and we were driving. I'm like, okay, if we score here,
yes.
You know,
yeah.
I mean, at least it gives you some breath for life. And what happened? Fumble.
He fumbled the ball.
It's just not meant to. I said, it's just, and it was a good drive. It was a good Packers drive, like a good normal Packers drive. And I said, this is looking good. And then it happened, and I said, man, this is not what I need.
Armstead stripped him.
It is what it is.
Armstead stripped him, and Buckner recovered. Go down, get a field goal, make it 20-0. And I know so many Packer fans. They were messaging me, going, "Are you kidding me?"
Deja vu, man. It was deja vu all over again. You know, I didn't even watch the first game that happened last season. I didn't even watch it because I was coming back from a Redskin game that I was covering.
Right.
And I was on the way back from the Redskin game, and I'm like, oh, okay, Green Bay's got the 8:00 game tonight. I think it was the Redskins Lions. So I come back, I said, well, I'll catch it when I get home. So I sit down, I get comfortable. As soon as I sat down and got comfortable, we're already down 10-0, and then y'all scored. I think like Nick Bosa did, and I said, you know what? I already know how this one's going. I cut the thing off. I said, I'm going to bed. It was the vibe, man. I can always tell when it's going to be a really bad Packer game, and it was 10-0. And usually I'm like, okay, we can, but just the way it went down, I said, nah. Not in San Francisco, not tonight.
And then,
so I went in.
And then it's 13-0. The Packers, I think the Packers were still in the game even when it was 13-0. And then Garoppolo hits Deebo Samuel on a crossing route, and flew untouched to the end zone.
I mean, what do you do? Well, what do you do when you can't? You know. And now here's the funny thing, Snowman. I'm sitting here looking at the draft. You know, I've been looking at the draft and all that stuff.
Yep.
And you know, all I keep hearing is, you know, the Packers or LaFleur, you know, since him and Shanahan are tight, well, guess what type of offense the Packers are going to try to run now? Oh, they're going to go try to run San Francisco's offense. You know what? Great. You know, that's why you don't see Aaron Rodgers give any weapons.
Right.
You know, I mean, I love AJ Dillon.
Yep.
I think AJ Dillon's a great pickup just in case Aaron Jones decides to walk next year or we don't pay him, which is a potentially good thing. And it would not surprise me if Green Bay doesn't pay him the money he wants. They've never, when it comes to big free agents, sometimes they sign a few of them.
He's been their saving grace for 2 years. He's been their saving grace.
That doesn't mean anything. You see what Blake Martinez gone. Blake Martinez has been top 4. No, he's been a top 2 in tackles every year he's been in the league.
Yep.
He's never been the number 1 person. He's been number 2 every year in the league. And yes, he may not be the best coverage guy, but he stops. He's a good tackler. He's a decent linebacker. I'm not saying he's the greatest, but he went out there. He got his money from the Giants. Not mad. We let Frackle go, another great young linebacker. Yep. When they brought the Smith brothers in, he took a step back. So you know, it's one of those things where it's like they're going to pay a couple people, and I don't know if, because Aaron Jones is going to demand $15 to $16 million. He's going to want that Zeke money. He's going to, especially if he has another year like he did last year. He's going to want the Zeke money. If he gets the Zeke money, he gets this. You know, if he gets the Zeke money, potentials down the road, Saquon Barkley money. I'm telling you right now, they're going to let him go. That's why you see this. This is why you see AJ Dillon in the second round.
Yeah,
and I think they probably, if one of the other guys like Taylor or somebody had dropped that far, they would have grabbed him.
True.
So that's where they're moving to. That's where they're moving to. They're trying to be the 49ers.
I gotta pose this question. Why did y'all draft Jordan Love?
I've been thinking about this one. Well, obviously now for a couple of days, and when it first happened, I knew. I've been knowing that it was going to happen within the next 2 years.
Right.
This is around the same time they did with Favre. Gudicic is he's a Ted Thompson disciple.
Yep.
He's a little bit more open though. He'll do a little bit more than Ted will do.
Yes.
But I had a feeling it was coming, and so I felt that we would do it. Or at least my personal one was maybe let's do a second round, third round.
Right.
You can grab somebody there. We need a backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You can grab somebody there. There'll be a couple guys. Easton, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw that they moved up, I said no. I already knew. I knew immediately because they had already sent people out to see him. And it's not that I don't want him. I'll be honest with you. I do like him overall. I think if we could have got him in the second round, that would have been phenomenal. But there was two guys in the first round, Snowman, that was just looking at me and smiling. And their names are Patrick Queen.
Yep.
The names are Patrick Queen, which would have been amazing.
Out of
LSU. And then there's a couple of receivers left, but Denzel Mims was there. But the man that I wanted the most, because I saw him in the ACC championship game when Virginia got stumped by Clemson, was T. Higgins.
T. Higgins.
The kid can catch T. Higgins can catch the ball,
man.
And both of them, two picks afterwards. Queen, 2 picks later, Higgins.
Yep.
That's how they did me, Snowman. That's how they did me. So overall, I like the pick. I just wish it was in the second round.
Yeah.
And I could have felt a little bit better about it. But if they don't give me a receiver today, I'm going to throw something, man.
Don't throw anything. Your wife and your kids will get upset. Don't throw anything.
I might have thrown something, man.
Don't throw. Look, do you really want to frighten little DJ?
No, I care about him too much for that. But I just, even though the first 2 picks, I'm truly true to heart, not upset about the first 2 picks.
Mm-hmm.
Just wish they would have happened at different times in the draft, especially with other people there.
Meanwhile, the 49ers flip with Tampa Bay and still get the man that they want in Javon Kinlaw.
I love great draft so far. Great draft so far for San Francisco. You get Kinlaw, you pick up, I don't know his name, Brandon
Ayuk.
And the kid's got that, just another stud young guy that you have at the receiving core that it will eventually develop.
Yep.
And I just like what you guys have done so far in this draft.
And plus, snatch up Trent Williams from Washington.
Yeah.
Snatch up Trent Williams so Joe Staley can ride off into the sunset in 49er glory. And Trent Williams, I think, is going to don his number, 74. Of course, the last 2 great tackles for San Francisco, you should know these names, aside of Joe Staley. The other one was Steve Wallace.
Yeah.
Man, oh man. And they get a 7-time Pro Bowler. They get a 7-time Pro Bowler.
Huge pickup for the San Francisco 49ers. And it makes sense. They were talking about it a little bit, but it makes sense because, he has a good relationship with Shanahan.
Yep.
Shanahan was the one that was there when they drafted him.
Mm-hmm.
He trusts Shanahan. So you go somewhere at least where you feel like you're going to be trusted, and they've got a team that is ready to roll for a couple years now defensively, and they're growing offensively. So, I mean, that NFC West is going to be tough, but if there's a team that can handle it, the 49ers can handle it. So, I mean, they just keep getting better. Lynch is probably one of the most, I still think, even though he's underrated. He's underrated on how good of a GM he is. He's truly underrated, and we continue to see it. In the last couple of drafts, the Trubisky draft, even though they got Solomon Thomas, and Solomon Thomas hasn't maybe worked out the way they wanted him to, all the picks that they got from it, that pick that they traded for Trubisky, and we see how miserable the Bears are.
You know what? I go back to that. I go back to that. I go back to that draft with Trubisky sitting there. Frisco high on the chart. They said, "Nah, we don't want this. Hey, we got a little special for you." And all the picks the 49ers got from fleecing the Bears so they can grab the man that they wanted 1 pick later. 1 pick later.
Right. 1 pick later. And That's what I'm saying. Like he's done brilliant moves, and he did another one. Like Kinlaw is going to be a
beast.
All right, so I got to go back a little bit. He's such a smart GM because, and I'm not just tooting your horn here. I just like what I see as an overall perspective. They knew, all right, we got to pay one of our guys. We got to pay Armstead, or we got to pay Buckner.
Yep.
They felt like, hey, Armstead's got the most upside. Okay, we can draft another guy. We can get Armstead. And I believe Armstead's a little bit younger, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I could be wrong.
Yes.
So he's younger. Let's trade Buckner, get a high pick in the draft, and Buckner's worth for every bit of the first round pick.
Yes, he is.
You make that move. You get into the round. Now you got 2 picks in the first round. Then you go say, you know what? I'm gonna take a step back, and let the Bucks drool and get their tackle. They probably wasn't going to take the tackle. You know what I'm saying? And they knew they wasn't going to take the tackle, like you said. They knew who they wanted.
Yep.
They get Kinlaw and they get more picks. It's brilliant. And then they trade back into the round to get the receiver they wanted, and they're not hurting on anything because they really didn't lose that much in that trade.
No.
What a great GM.
And then Jalen Hurd is waiting in the wings for Frisco. Remember, he didn't play last year with a back injury. And San Francisco had so many injuries, and yet they still wind up 13-3. They make an appearance in the Super Bowl. They're the defending NFC champions. And then you got Jalen Hurd waiting in the wings. You get Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State. But they addressed the first major need, which was to replace DeForest Buckner. Javon Kinlaw is perfect for that defense.
So young and so talented. So young and so talented on that defensive line. It's scary, And people laugh at me, and it's not just because I cover them, but I think the next team that you're going to have to watch on the defensive front is the Washington Redskins.
It's the Redskins. Absolutely.
And everything they've done on that defensive line, this is before they added Chase Young.
Right.
They were already good on that D-line. Then you add Chase Young. And they had Matt Ioannidis, who, he's a part of a rotational player. He had 7-8 sacks last year.
Yeah.
He's getting better. If they got Tim Seth, that line is going to be special. It may not happen right away.
That Redskins team led by Rivera is a couple years away from really making some noise in the NFC. But for the foreseeable future, the NFC belongs and will remain in San Francisco. The way
after this draft, that's the way I feel.
The way John Lynch is putting stuff together, and a lot of people were worried, and I know you've heard this because you cover football like I do. A lot of people were worried that the 49ers were going to trade Dee Ford and Quan Alexander for some more picks. No. John Lynch had something in mind, and that person was Javon Kinlaw. I said it for a month that they were going to go after Kinlaw, and they got him.
Yeah, I knew, I had a feeling it would be D-line, and to my better judgment, I kept saying, well, maybe they'll go to receiver because, but then I'm like, they got 5 young receivers that are still growing.
Yeah.
And they could probably snag a veteran. There's a couple of veterans out there. That's why I said, when it happened, I was like, it just makes sense. It's perfect.
Yep.
You trade your guy, you bring in, and you get a young stud that you want that fell right into your lap.
Yep.
And it's like, boom. This is perfect. It's amazing, GM. Amazing, GM. God, I wish I had him.
And it's crazy the way John Lynch has turned around this football team with Kyle Shanahan working in concert, and they're not just set up for the next few years. They're going to be set up for a while, especially with this young, aggressive, hungry defensive line. I've referenced Nate Burleson quite a few times after the NFC Championship game, but I will say it again. With this 49er defensive line, with the addition of Kinlaw, who's going to play opposite of Bosa, this young defensive line is not only fast, but they get home quick.
Right. It's scary. And I think if you look at them as a whole, they have there's been some great defenses the last couple of years. Seattle's Legion of Boom. The Vikings, even though they can't figure out things on offense sometimes, they have a really good defense. But I look at it and I say, the San Francisco team has a 5-year window, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Maybe 3 to 5 window. We'll say 3 to 5 year window to capitalize on this talent. Because eventually money is going to play a factor, and all these guys are going to get paid. That's what happened in Seattle. It happened. It's starting to happen in Minnesota, and it's going to happen. But they got 3 years to do it, 3 to 5 years to do it, and I think they can do it. I truly think they can do it. It's just really going to depend on how do we control Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
we got to get a hold of him.
It was
they had a
an
3 to 5 year window.
overachieving year for San Francisco last year because after the injury-riddled year of 2018, you lose Garoppolo, who's your number one guy. You bring him over, you give him a big contract. So many other injuries that they had on every side of the ball. And then this past year, they go 13-3. You know, the 49ers were for real when they, on Monday Night Football, blasted the Cleveland Browns, who everyone thought had won the draft and won free agency, signing Odell Beckham Jr., and then the 49ers just said, the hell with that, and held them to 3 points.
That was the eye opener, you know. I mean, that was the eye opener. That in the Pittsburgh game, y'all beat, if I'm not mistaken, y'all beat Pittsburgh pretty good. And I remember, and I said, man, this 49ers team is low key really good. And then as the weeks kept going along, and I'm just like, okay, I see it now. And then it just you saw the destroy Carolina.
Oh my gosh.
Lord. Good Lord. I was sitting there, I was like, man, somebody throw in the towel. Where's the guy from Rocky?
My wife looked at the television. My wife looked at the television. She looked at me, and I had this big old grin on my face, and she goes, 51 points? Oh, yeah.
It was a bad deal. So, man, it was like they were out there, man. It was just watching it. I'm like, this team's good. And I knew it, you know.
And, of course, that was the first time they had the throwbacks on. They had the throwbacks that day against Carolina. And then the game in New Orleans.
Oh, and what a game it was. I mean, it was a back and forth battle. You know, the NFC Championship game we all should have got.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Let's just be honest. You know, and just watching it was just like, man, this is special right here. I mean, watching it was a piece of artwork, and you know, Kittle was a man, and I mean, I got to see him play personally.
What about that?
Year.
What about that catch by Kittle against New Orleans on 4th and 2?
It was great, and I mean, dragging people down the field. I'm like, come on, bro,
for another 20 yards. You know, for another 20 yards.
Another 20 yards, and that's the crazy thing. You know, when I watched San Francisco play Washington last season, it was rainy. It was messy.
It was a mud fest. It was a mud fest.
It was messy. But I remember telling my man Tyrone Montgomery, who's a part of the network.
Yes,
he was with me covering the game, and I said, Ty, this team is a Super Bowl team. I said, it's a Super Bowl team because you can see even in a muddy just. A game that it could have went any way, the dogfight in them. And then just watching, like, I have a picture that I took during the game when Kittle, Barbosa is sliding to me after he sacks.
Yes.
I mean, he slid it was directly towards me, Snowman. I'll never forget it. If I ever put the pictures up on social media, I have it where he's running around the corner, and as a photographer, I'm saying, "Oh my God, he's going to kill him." And then he hits him, and I got the hit as he's sliding on top of him, like he's sliding on top of him, and you can just see his facial expression. And then I'm going to slide some more, and then he just slides like he slid directly in front of me,
and the whole team, and the whole team, the whole defensive line slid.
Right. I can say that I was there when that was birthed, and I can always say that, and that was a cool feeling, but. Just watching that energy level of that young team and how hungry they were. They're going to be just as hungry this year, you know.
If not more, coming off a loss in the Super Bowl, if not more.
Right.
So
and with those young guys, it's tough.
Let's dive into the first round of the draft while we have some time here. Tua at number 5 to Miami. You surprised with that pick?
Well, no, because I felt like this was going to be the pick all along. Other than I think they wanted Barrow for security purposes, and that's why they offered Cincinnati that. I don't. If I'm Cincinnati, I'll be honest with you. There's no way I wouldn't have took those 3 picks.
Right.
I mean, there's no way I would not have taken those 3 picks.
Right.
Because you can drop back and still get you a quarterback at 5, which we saw, and you could have still got 2 more picks. Cincinnati needs a lot to rebuild.
Yes.
And so it would have been beneficial for them. But I pretty much knew, once I knew that Cincinnati wasn't going to give up on Barrow and that they were locked into that pick, I said, they're going to still get him. Even with all the talk with Herbert, even up to the end, and even me and Jay on our mock draft, we had Herbert because we were starting to hear the whispers. But my heart kept telling me that no, Tua's going to end up going. He's going to go to Miami. Perfect spot for him. The only I would have liked him in LA too because, but it was more of a cultural thing for me in LA.
Yeah.
I think he would have put butts in the seats, especially with the Chargers being the new Clippers. And so they need to be able to have somebody that can be the face of that franchise. And with the lineage of, Junior Seau and what, his heritage and, in that area, how important that would have been. I thought he would have been perfect on a marketing front. And with Tyrod Taylor there, they would have had time. But Miami does a good thing here. Miami's having a really good draft.
Yeah.
I mean, you go back and look at, they've picked up all the necessities. So I like what they're doing.
What about Justin Herbert to the Chargers? And I'm never going to correctly say the Los Angeles Chargers while this program is alive, and I already know that because to me they're always the San Diego Chargers. They're always the San Diego Chargers. They're always the San Diego Chargers. Okay, because
it took me 1 year to get LA Rams, even though it was old school. It was a little bit quicker for me to do LA Rams, but I said St. Louis Rams on the program for at least 6 months.
I know
before I got it. And I know I'm gonna be calling the Oakland Raiders for the next year.
Listen,
that's gonna take me some time.
The Oakland Raiders are gonna mess me up. The Las Vegas Raiders are gonna mess me up. The Los Angeles Chargers have messed me up because to me it's still the Oakland Raiders and the San Diego Chargers. All right, it didn't take long for me to get back to the Los Angeles. It didn't take me long to get back to the Los Angeles Rams. But you know what the NFL should do, and I know I'm veering off here. You know what the NFL should do? Make the Cardinals go back to St. Louis. Okay, you got a stadium there already. You got a stadium there already that you can build something with, and hell, you can knock that down and build another one. Can we just get the St. Louis Cardinals back? Can we get the St. Louis Cardinals back?
It'll be tough a little bit, Snowman.
I know.
Arizona has put so much into that team.
Yeah, they have.
That stadium. They have a gorgeous stadium out there. It would be a tough call, but they do deserve a franchise. And I hope that they are the next
Arizona give Arizona another mascot. But can we just bring the Cardinals back to St. Louis? Can we bring
double it up?
Bring the Cardinals back to St. Louis, and I've said this one for basketball for many, many years. Can we please have the Seattle Supersonics back?
Wow, when can we get the? That'd be nice. Hopefully, it happens eventually.
Yeah,
Seattle deserves the franchise.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Are you surprised Jalen Hurts is going to Philadelphia? Was drafted by Philadelphia?
I said this last night on Facebook. And I truly meant it. I said, hey, Philly fans, join the Run Your Quarterback Out of Town club. And
thank you.
I mean, it's one of those things where you look. I mean, Philly truly did need a good backup quarterback. They did. I mean, and Hurts is going to be a little bit of a development. So, I mean, I would tell people don't stress. And the same thing in the Rodgers situation. Don't stress. The only way that those two young quarterbacks will come into play is if the team is doing bad.
Right.
So don't do bad.
Or if their starters are injured. Or if their starters are injured.
And those are the only two situations they truly have to worry about it. But it's good to have because for all the people that love the Philly special, well, now guess what? You can bring old Jalen Hurts in, and he can do the Philly special.
He can run it on his own.
Him another dynamic.
Absolutely. He can run that on his own.
Dynamic.
Does Tua become an immediate starter in Miami, or?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so, man.
Yeah.
They shouldn't start him. I would let Fitzpatrick, run it a little bit. Give him as much time as possible before they have to force him in. I think he'll play this year.
Yeah.
He'll probably be late during the year. But to be honest with you, the way Brian Flores, I love Brian Flores. I don't know what it is, man, but I just love Brian Flores as a head coach. And I just feel like, if they can keep things afloat without it drowning, let Fitzpatrick, usher in, grow them a little bit before you bring Tua in. But if he goes out there and he's lights out and he's killing them in training camp, if we have one, it's going to be hard for you to be like, okay,
man, we better have a training camp.
We're not. Who you telling? Who you telling? I'm sitting here looking like, man, this training camp don't happen. I'll be hot.
Look, I mean, you're not far from me. They just extended the moratorium from the end of this coming week to May the 8th. I understand why they're doing it, but can we just lift the moratorium, please? I want some training camp, doggone it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's not going to be no OTAs for the Redskins. And
no.
We usually travel up there. We traveled up there last year for OTAs. And theirs usually started the second week of May.
Yeah.
Because they usually have the rookie one. And I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
It'll probably be like June. So if they have OTAs at all, it'll be sometime in June, but I doubt it. I'm just hoping that they have training camp here in Richmond. And that's all I can hope for. But we got a little time for that, and hopefully the stuff gets cleared up.
And hopefully this curve bottoms out or flattens out.
Right.
So and it flattens out safely. Let's not get it twisted. Want it to flatten out safely and make sure everyone is safe when we do get sports back. And I believe we will. I'm waiting for the high school year to start back in August.
Yeah, definitely got to agree with you on that, so man. I mean, I've been off of my full time for, I don't know, it's been almost 2 months, and I've been about a month and a half, and I'm actually going back to work for the first time on Tuesday, which is
that's good.
I've been sitting around the house for so long, but it's just one of those things. Just get some normalcy back,
Yes.
Get back into what our routines, and I didn't realize how much I miss sports until they take it away from you. And they take it away from you, like, whew. And I mean, we're both out here trying to find something to do during our time. And
it's like the players are locked out and the fans are locked down. You know what I mean?
And can't do either one. We're just sitting here hoping for the best.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
For the best.
The other half of the Legacy Makers Sports Podcast. This man is Darrell Owens, a very dear friend. I'm going to have him on the show often to talk some football. We will have some football this year. Thanks for coming on, my friend. I love you. Thanks a lot.
Always, Snowman. Give my best wishes to the wife, and I hope she's feeling better.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
You're tuned in to the Daily BS. Sports and culture combined into one.
You know, I want to start off today's program by telling you a tale of perseverance. And this tale of perseverance involves a very dear friend in the industry. I had her on 4 years ago, and I've had her on recently when we discussed the death of one Kobe Bryant. But now let's get to some more positive times. The lovely Pamela Michelle joins me. How are you?
I'm doing well, Brian. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to have you on. Okay.
I'm glad that we could be here talking a little bit more, about something happier. Even though it makes me happy to talk about Kobe, and it always will, but it's just nice to, have a little bit better of a circumstance.
It's great to have you on under better circumstances. And one of the better circumstances is your show, the Pamela Michelle Show. I gave it a listen, and it's now a guilty pleasure because it's a friend.
Thank you.
I mean this from the heart. People have said it to me for the almost 7 years I've had this show. I return the favor. This is you at its finest, and not giving a you-know-what about what people think or say about your program. It's you. It's something you had to. It's something you had to do. You and I have talked about this, so I want you to tell the folks about the Pamela Michelle Show. Let her rip.
Okay, well, my new podcast, The Pamela Michelle Show, and I did that on purpose so I could hashtag PMS just because I wanted to. There's always some method to my madness. There is always
that is fabulous. When I caught that hashtag, I must have laughed for about 20 minutes when I saw that hashtag. Go on, tell the folks about your show.
It's by design. It's by design to make people laugh. I mean, when I first started in this industry, I had a programming director tell me what a great personality I am. And it pissed me off. I was so offended. I was like, what? Excuse me? Like, I want to be stat girl. Like, I want to be, respected and thought of in the top percentile of people who are knowledgeable about fantasy football and who know their shit about baseball.
Right.
Like, I want to, be respected and think of, being a serious sportscaster, and I don't want somebody to be like, wow, you have a great personality.
Yeah.
That's what, you know what I mean? It's like, it was offensive to me, and I worked so hard, and I became that girl. I became the fantasy football girl. People wanted to interview me about fantasy football. People sought out my advice. And I beat everybody in Vegas. I beat the Sirius XM fantasy football champion. I beat Vegas bookies. I made the boys look foolish and stupid. I have nothing left to prove. I have nothing left to prove in that realm. I know I am one of the best. Everybody can say, hey, this is how I do it, whatever. I know my way works, and it's been proven with results. Championships, and, like I said, you can't get any better than beating people in Vegas who think they know everything and making them look foolish when they leave Ezekiel Elliott in his rookie year just there for you to take.
Yep. I mean, how can you
just
pass that up?
For you to take.
How can you pass up Ezekiel Elliott? Okay.
No, you just couldn't. I mean, I got super lucky. I had the last pick, and for some reason, all of these guys were just overlooking everything, all laughing at me. You have last pick. Ha, 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 ha. And we were doing a snake draft. So I was like, okay, I got last pick, but I get 2 picks in a row.
Exactly.
Take who you want to take. And the way I constructed my roster, everybody laughed at me. I took 2 quarterbacks who actually had the same bye week. Mm-hmm. I don't pay a lot of attention to bye weeks or anything like that. I construct my team to how I want it. And point being of it all, it was a 12-person league from these, the creme de la creme in Las Vegas. And they left me last pick with Ezekiel Elliott and David Johnson.
I mean, that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer.
That's what I did. It was Ezekiel Elliott's rookie year, and David Johnson actually really wasn't hurt that year. He had a great year. The same year Zeke broke out and had this phenomenal monster year. And I took them back to back, and all the boys laughed at me. And the week, before I go back to talking about my show, the week that both of my quarterbacks were on a bye, I think I had taken Roethlisberger and Phillip Rivers maybe that year. I know I had Big Ben as one of my quarterbacks, definitely. I want to say Phillip Rivers might have been my other one, but they were both on a bye. And the thing is about this league is you drafted who you drafted. There was no waiver wire. So I couldn't go to the waiver wire and pick somebody up. Your team was your team. So everybody's like, oh, my God, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. You don't have a quarterback. You don't have a quarterback. I had Ezekiel Elliott and David Johnson. Sis didn't need a quarterback, okay? Like, I just didn't. I won that week, and I won very big. So the point was I was really offended. And now when I started thinking about what kind of podcast I wanted to come back with. Right now we don't have sports, and it's a little bit difficult. You know, you can still talk sports, talk about different things. It's hard when there's nothing that's being played.
True.
And, you know, so I really can't talk a lot about that. I don't want to do something I've already talked about before. I wanted to do something different that interested me. I got the best advice from somebody I used to work with, and he told me, do the show you want and be fearless about it. Absolutely. I know everybody's not going to love my show. I've gotten quite a bit of critique about my show saying, hey, you know what? I think you should take calls. You know what? I think you should do this. I don't get where you're going with this. It's not for everybody to get. It's supposed to be something for you to just put on, listen to, and laugh. That's what I wanted to do. I like making people laugh. I'm not trying to say I'm a comedian, but I do like making people laugh. And I came up with this concept of if people really knew what girls talk about, sometimes guys would be like, wow, that's what you think. And I know that there are podcasts that kind of already do that kind of stuff, but I feel like mine is a little bit different because it's not like I'm taking it exactly from that point of view.
Right.
The Pamela Michelle show is, I actually started off with something very serious, which was the topic of mental health. Mm-hmm. And, you know, for people who know me, they know that I had a really hard time not that long ago where I was in a really dark place.
Right.
And, you know, I would just lay in bed. I would cry before my feet even hit the floor. I didn't want to get up. I just didn't know how I was going to fake going through my day.
Right.
Because the worst thing when you're unhappy is somebody saying, hey, is everything okay? Because even that little phrase can force you to just bust out into tears.
Yes.
I would muster up the strength to put my feet on the floor and pretend that I was in a good mood, and I would smile and go about my day when I was dying inside. I would go to bed and pray, if there is a God, please don't let me wake up tomorrow. Like, I just want the pain to stop. I want the hurting to stop. I just can't do this anymore. I just can't. And it was really hard for me to communicate that to people. And I had people that loved me that wanted to help me, and they didn't know how, because I didn't know how to communicate, hey, I'm not all right. Like, there's things that are going on in my head that I can't even begin to understand. You know, I was driving my car and I pulled over on the side of the road, and I just started to just break down and cry because all I wanted to do was put my foot so far on the gas and then just drive into a building. And then I thought, oh my God, not what if I die, but what if I live? what if it doesn't work? And those were some of the things I was thinking about. You know, I would just not answer phone calls. I didn't want to do anything. I just was in this horrific, dark place. I finally got help. I've been going to therapy, doing a lot of things to work on me. And in a way, this podcast is sort of my therapy, in a way. I talk about things that are, you know, important to me, or things, random things that I think about. I came up with this whole Bad Girl Bible, and the Bad Girl Bible, a lot of people asked me, hey, what's that? Is that like just a complete sex guide? No, not really. It's not. It's not a complete sex guide, but what it is the equivalent to is the bro code. So that's sort of what the Bad Girl Bible is the Bad Girl Bible is the equivalent to the mythical bro code.
Yes.
And you know, I had a listener ask me, so how many rules are there? I don't know yet because I am still kind of making them up as I go along.
Absolutely.
If there's going to be 10 rules, then, you know, there's going to be 10 rules. I have 2 rules right now. The first one is never, ever beg. The second is be the girl everybody wants, but not the girl everybody's had. So those are the 2 Bad Girl Bible rules that I've got going on so far.
That is fabulous. Now you wonder why I love the show, because I love to laugh, and my wife makes me laugh on a daily basis. I love laughter. I absolutely love laughter. Exactly. It's the best medicine. And that's also why when I introduced like the logo for my show is this blonde that looks very iconically like Marilyn Monroe. Mm-hmm. And the whole slogan of it is when good girls go bad. That's just one of the reasons I had to have you back on the show in better times. It's so good. It's so wonderful to hear you laugh. Because the first time I had you on, we laughed, and we laughed the entire time we were in conversation. One of my favorite comedians, and I too can share your story about being in a very dark place, and it wasn't that long ago for me, and I'll piggyback on that after the break. But one of my favorite comedians is George Carlin, and I've listened to a ton of George Carlin when I was in a mental hospital 3 years ago. You know, anyone who knows me or knows of me, which you do, you know my favorite comedian is George Carlin, and one of my favorite routines by George is flying on an airplane. And my mom and my dad were the first ones I repeated this routine to, and y'all gonna have to forgive me because I'm just gonna say it the way he said it. My favorite line in his routine of flying on an airplane: about this time, someone's telling you to get on the plane. Get on the plane, get on the plane. I say, fuck you, I'm getting in the plane. And I did that for my wife when we went on a trip last year. Again, folks, forgive me. This is the first hour, and we're kicking this off the right way with some laughter while this pandemic goes on to help us get through this pandemic. Man, that has been one of my lean on lines when I go through a dark time. But the best part about it, I'm getting dressed to take my wife to work one day, and I said it in the shower, didn't realize it, and I came out and I repeated it, and when I got to that line, my wife said it to me, and I fell out laughing. I fell out laughing. It's that one or a Bugs Bunny cartoon or something. So, folks, our point is laughter will get you through this. I had to have this lady on the show to talk about Hashtag PMS. Oh, Lord, I'm going to laugh all day long now because when I first saw it, I started cracking up. And I'm going to make sure that it is a well-recommended podcast for folks that really get into laughter and want to find out a story about perseverance. I will continue to tell your story, and I will definitely support your podcast. This is Pamela Michelle, a very dear friend of mine, the host of the Pamela Michelle Show. And yes, you heard the hashtag correctly. Hashtag PMS. And if that don't make you laugh, then you don't have a pulse and you don't have a soul. Come on, y'all. Give this show a listen. I really, really recommend it. And I truly thank you for coming on and sharing your story and sharing your podcast with us.
Well, I appreciate it, and I really hope everybody likes it. I mean, I'm doing it for me, selfishly. It's a self-serving type of thing, but I really hope everybody loves. I love getting the feedback. I always put things on Facebook and Twitter. The last I'm actually doing right now is, fetishes and what are deal breakers. So, I mean, this is not your average podcast, folks. I mean, I know that not everybody's going to love it. I know that some people that I've worked with really don't get it, and it's just not for them. And it's okay.
Right.
It's okay because I want to talk about deal breakers and fetishes. I mean, my last podcast with a good friend of mine who's a comedian, Marie Connor.
Yes.
It was called Spilling the Tea, and I went through my Twitter DMs and I made a game show, and I read things that dudes send me, and I asked her, I was like, okay, so the internet is a cesspool. Where do you think this came from? Do you think it came from Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or a dating site?
You know what? The next time you do that, let me know, because I could totally turn that into a Jeopardy setup. And just throw it out.
That's the whole point. It was designed with a very game show type motif.
You let me know the next time you do that.
We'll definitely be doing another Spill the Tea at some point. I gotta let these creepy DMs build up. So. I get them on the daily.
I know you do.
I get them on the daily.
I know you do. When they build up, you let me know when you do that. I will come in.
You got it.
I will virtually come in with a tuxedo on and put the spotlight on, and I will have so much fun with it. I would love to do that segment with y'all. I would love to do it.
No problem. Absolutely.
Oh, man. Pamela Michelle giving y'all a laugh to start the day. Thanks a lot, my dear. I totally appreciate the time.
Thank you, Brian. Have a great day.
You're tuned in to the Daily BS. Sports and culture combined into one.
With a special shout out to a furry friend of the show, Mishka, who's a big old lovable husky. Its owner, Daniel Sullivan of the FBAS podcast, now joins me to talk NFL draft. And the fact that I love dogs and I love that picture of you and the husky, I had to give Mishka a shout.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. She does too. I know that. Thank you for having me on the show, man. I'm really excited to get this draft talk on.
You know what? Everybody's saying Miami won the draft. Everybody's saying someone else won the draft. I'm going to be a little homerish for the first few minutes because the team that I feel really won the draft, if you can believe it, is San Francisco.
I actually don't disagree with that at all. I thought they really had a great job or did a really good job in the draft. We talked a little bit before the draft where we thought they might go, and you had mentioned Javon Kinlaw before the draft, and I said I thought he'd be gone because I think he's a top 10 player. Yeah. And for them to get him at 14 where they did, I think is a great get.
Not only a great get, they can plug him in right away to fill the void left by the departure of one DeForest Buckner. So once again, with the 49ers, you get 4 first-rounders on that defensive line. And if anybody watched them last year, that is a savage defensive line.
Oh, most definitely. And I agree with the process of what they're doing is make one thing an absolute game-changing strength and make other teams adjust. And what they're doing along the defensive line is they just create absolute havoc, and teams have to adjust their game plan. And I just love that strategy in a team.
Yeah, and they're going through it again. And also last year they took a receiver later on in the draft. Of course, that was Deebo Samuel. In fact, they took 2. Deebo Samuel out of South Carolina and Jalen Hurd out of Baylor. We'll hear from Jalen Hurd, I think, a little bit later in the season as he's coming back from a back injury. We know what Deebo Samuel did, but then they snatched this kid, Brandon Ayuk, out of Arizona State, an absolute steal for the 49ers and that offense.
Yeah, I agree, actually, which is crazy. If you do follow the FBAS podcast, we've spoken about Brandon Ayuk and just how highly I do have him. I have him as my 4th overall receiver, and that's exactly where I think you went a little before that, actually.
Yeah.
And I just think what he does is perfect for San Francisco. He excels after the catch, and he's extremely dynamic. And Kyle Shanahan's going to get his guys open. That's what the offense does. So you don't need premier separation guys. You need guys who excel after the catch, like Deebo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk's just another player who's going to, I think, create havoc in that offense.
Another player that's going to create havoc is along the offensive line as the 49ers executed a trade for one Trent Williams. Listen to this, a 7-time Pro Bowler who still has a lot of years left, replacing a 6-time Pro Bowler in Joe Staley, who has retired, spent his whole career with San Francisco. So now Joe Staley steps away. Joe Staley retires, but here comes Trent Williams to shore up that offensive line, and that O-line gets younger and they get stronger.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like San Francisco's kind of like the New England almost. They just find a way to get these veterans, like they got Emmanuel Sanders, last year, and loaned him out for a year and almost got the championship for it. And, they now get Trent Williams and, that's a great get for a 5th this year and a 3rd next year. You assume it's going to be a late 3rd because the team's going to win a bunch of ball games again.
Yeah.
So, that's just a great deal. That's just a fantastic deal for San Francisco.
What was the biggest surprise of the first round for you?
I think the big shock for me was Damon Arnett. I just didn't see him as a first-round player, and I just didn't. I follow this a lot, and I didn't see a lot of people that saw him as a first-round player, and I thought that just kind of shocked me. I thought. Or Los Angeles or Las Vegas, I apologize, would just go a better. Yeah, I know there's so many new names in this season.
You know what? I thought this. I thought the same way, and I know I'm going to be messing up a lot of times this year.
But yeah, I thought that pick kind of just threw me for a loop right there. It kind of took me back.
Yeah. I think the biggest surprise for me was Philadelphia drafting Jalen Hurts, because to me it gave me a signal that it could be coming to the end of the Carson Wentz era in Philadelphia.
Well, that I'm not entirely sure, because he just signed the 5-year deal last year, the extension. But I think what it does is if you watch the draft coverage at all, you saw that Louis Riddick mentioned the backup quarterback position is a top 30 position in the NFL. And I actually agree with that. And I think Philadelphia and Doug Peterson agree with that, where if your starting quarterback goes down, you need a backup quarterback. And Philadelphia knows all about that with Wentz and his issues. So, take a shot on Hurts and see what you can get.
Are you surprised Tua went at 5 to Miami?
A little bit. I thought he would go 3 to Miami, but they just couldn't get a deal done. Detroit didn't want to give up their pick for what Miami was willing to give up, apparently. So it worked out perfect for both teams. They got both their guys, so nobody can complain.
Joe Burrow went first overall to Cincinnati. No surprise there. How do you think he'll perform this year?
I mean, honestly, I'm not entirely sure. I think the sky's the limit for Joe. His confidence, his swagger, coupled with his accuracy is just special. I mean, it really is special. He's got the mentality of a winner, and his arm is really, really special. So you think he could do well, but again, it's all about scheme and fit. David Carr had all the tools in the world, but he was in a terrible fit in Houston, and his career went down the drain. It's all about fit and finish right there. So
yeah, and that's what scares me about Cincinnati. You got a great athlete in Joe Burrow, but you don't have good athletes surrounding him. That's what frightens me about that pick.
See, I disagree. I'm a big Tyler Boyd fan. He's got back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons now, and I'm a big, big Tyler Boyd believer. I think A.J. Green still, if he's not elite, he's right on the cusp of an elite receiver. And then I don't hate T. Higgins. I think he's going to be very limited physically. I don't think he's going to be able to separate the same way he did in college in the NFL. I just don't think he has that separation ability at the next level. But he does high point the ball extremely well. He's extremely long. So he's going to have his use in the NFL. But, they're an up-and-coming team. Joe Mixon's a really good player. So I think they've got the talent around him. It's all what Zach Taylor can do with it, though, at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. So Burrow goes 1, Tua goes at 5. Justin Herbert to the I know I'm going to say it wrong, and I'm going to do it purposely. Justin Herbert to the San Diego Chargers officially signals the end of Phillip Rivers, who's now moved on to Indianapolis. Do they plug Herbert in immediately, or do they wait?
God, I hope not. I dislike Justin Herbert quite a bit. I've made that pretty vocal on the FBAS podcast.
You have.
I'm not a fan. I don't think he has it mentally at all. He overthinks every throw he makes. He's thinking about the throw, not just going out there and doing it. And if you've watched anything in the NFL, that never works. So I would hope they let Tyrod Taylor do his thing and then let Justin Herbert kind of come along. But you never know. First-round picks, especially 6 overall, they get pushed into the process a lot sooner than they should be, probably.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. Let's go to Detroit. Julian Okwara. There we go. Okwara out of Notre Dame, goes to the Lions. That a good fit for them? Does that give them any help?
It may. I'm a little concerned about his fit in that defense. He's a tweener, I would say. I think he's more of a 3-4 linebacker, 3-4 outside linebacker than anything, and so I'm not sure how he fits in their 4-3 scheme. But I mean, man, what a great story to get drafted and get to play with your brother there in the same NFL team and franchise. I mean, that's such a great story, and I think he'll be able to fit. His talent is amazing. He had a extremely high win percentage on his actual pass rush sets or attempts. He just didn't have a ton at Notre Dame.
Right.
But, you never know. Up there in Detroit, they're building a whole new team, and I like what they did with Jeff Okudah and Okwara in there.
Yeah, Jeff Okudah out of Ohio State, very high pedigree. He goes to the Lions. Speaking of Ohio State, Chase Young to the Redskins. How big of a difference maker is that for Washington?
I think it's huge. I have him as a higher graded prospect than both Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, and Myles Garrett at that. I have him as the highest rated prospect as a defensive lineman I've had in a very long time. He just does everything well. He's so dynamic at everything. His hands are extremely strong. He's got great technique. He's got secondary moves. His speed to power transition is already elite. I'm a big, huge fan of Chase Young. And like I said, like what San Francisco does, if you make one group elite and make other teams game plan, I think that's big. And so right now they got Montez Sweat, last year's first-round pick. They get Chase Young. They got Ryan Kerrigan still there. They make that pass rush elite. It makes other teams change their game plan.
And a lot of teams, if you look at it through the draft, are trying to follow the pattern that San Francisco set in setting that defensive line.
Exactly. That's a great point. You know what I mean? Like, if the defensive line and through the trenches is still where ball games are won.
Absolutely. We're talking with Daniel Sullivan of the FBAS podcast. Let's go to Carolina. Derek Brown out of Auburn to start to solidify that defensive line. Your thoughts on Derek Brown?
I mean, that guy's a beast. He's a whole hunk of man in the middle of that football field, bro. I really like his game. He's a lot of people were trying to downplay him, I think, before the draft because he really doesn't offer a ton pass rushing wise.
Right.
But I mean, what he brings to the middle of a defense to just be able to stop the run and just clog everything up, I think is so important. And I'm a huge fan. He's got 2 years of incredible tape in high-end SEC football. I mean, I think that's why he went where he did over, other players. I mean, I just love his game.
Absolutely. Looking at some of the defensive players taken, Derek Brown, perfect fit for Carolina out of Auburn. Of course, you know how I feel about Javon Kinlaw out of South Carolina going to the 49ers. The Panthers are building their defense. The 49ers have their defense established, but they get an absolute beastified Javon Kinlaw. He's going to have to drop a little bit of weight, but then again, he may not have to because of how Robert Saleh schemes that defense. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play that. Henry Ruggs to the Raiders. But before we get to the Raiders, let's go to the Jets. Mekhi Becton out of Louisville heading to the Jets as an offensive tackle. Do you plug him in right away?
I mean, I think they have to, just because they don't have a talent really better than him along the offensive line. I would love to not play him. I think he's out of the top 4 offensive tackles, he's the least ready to play right now. He's still really raw in pass sets. He's still got beat a lot. Yeah, he threw a lot of people around, but if you're able to get him leaning one way, you can get around him and get him with a secondary move sometimes. So he'll have to learn a lot, and with no mini camp, we presume no mini camps and things like that.
Right.
I think that may hurt his, improvements to begin his career. But I mean, God, people who are that big and move that well, you're just in awe of. So I mean, if the sky's the limit for Mekhi Becton.
Yeah, and I'm loving how our conversation is going so far. Yeah, we're jumping all over the board, but folks, we're looking at every team. Here is the trade that a lot of people questioned, but then realize what Tampa Bay and San Francisco were doing. They flipped spots. San Francisco was set to pick at 13, Tampa Bay at 14. San Francisco gave them a call and said, trade you. They traded, and they Buccaneers wound up getting their man and Tristan Wirfs a tackle out of Iowa. And, of course, with Tom Brady there, it's going to depend on a lot of protection for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Tampa Bay fan. I live here in Tampa Bay, so I have my entire life. So, I mean, I'm a blood and through with those boys, and I was thrilled. Tristan Wirfs was my number 1 offensive tackle going into the draft. In our mock draft, I had actually selected him when I had the choice of any of the tackles I wanted at 14. I love the trade. I don't think we expected him to be there in that range.
Right.
So when he was there, we were like, hell, let's just move up. Let's give what we need to get the pick. And I know San Francisco's been very open and out that they were looking to move down, and to only move down a spot and pick up an extra 4th rounder, which is huge for them.
Yes.
Was an obvious steal, and they still get their guy who they wanted, and Tampa got their guy who they wanted. So it made a lot of sense.
Talk to me about CeeDee Lamb to the Cowboys.
Man, damn Cowboys. I'm not a fan, and they got a great player. I mean, a great player that just fell into their lap.
Yeah,
and I hated it. Because I just want to see them lose all the time. But
I agree with that.
I love it. Yeah. I love the player. I love the pick. It's a very smart pick. I think, again, I'm going to reiterate this a lot. Building an elite unit makes other teams adjust. And now you got Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, presumably he comes back, of course.
Mm-hmm.
That offense is scary, scary good. I really liked it. Yes, they had other needs other places, but I'm always a fan of you draft talent before need. You don't leave a top 10 talent on the board, to take a player who may be ranked 10 or 15 places down when it fits a need, in my opinion. You take that better player and you make him fit in your team. So I love what they did.
Let's stay in the NFC South and go to Atlanta. A.J. Terrell in the first round out of Clemson goes to Atlanta. Your thoughts on Terrell?
I was actually a really big A.J. Terrell fan. I kind of thought he'd be the third corner off the board. His tape is just really, really good. He doesn't get beat a lot. When he does get beat, he really, he rebounds really well, and his recovery is really elite. I also, he got beat up by Jamar Chase in the national championship game, but I mean, it's Jamar Chase.
Thank you. It's Jamar Chase.
Yeah,
right.
Like the guy's gonna be a top 5 pick. So it's kind of like, he got beat up one game, but 13 other games the guy was pretty elite.
A.J. Terrell, I believe A.J. Terrell had a pick 6 against Bama in the championship out in Santa Clara. I believe that was the third play of that game.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like he's long, he fits the scheme really well. So I thought it was a little early, but again, it takes 2 to tango, so they couldn't necessarily move down. So I don't think it's a crazy reach, but I like the player a lot.
Let's look at the Vikings. Justin Jefferson out of LSU goes to the Vikings, and this after they traded Stephon Diggs. Do they plug him in right away? I would say they do.
I mean, I definitely think he is a plug-and-play receiver for them. I mean, the guy's route running and just, I don't know, kind of keen ability to find those holes in coverage is pretty elite. It's NFL level. My only worry with him is, he's kind of the same player as Adam Thielen, so I'm a little worried that they're going to have to run the same kind of route tree.
Right.
And there's not really a guy to kind of take it deep, essentially. But, Justin Jefferson's a talent. You couldn't leave him on the board, so I love the pick, to be honest with you.
Jordan Love to Green Bay. A lot of people were shaking their head and scratching their head about that pick. Your thoughts?
I loved it. So I'm a huge Jordan Love fan. I think Jordan Love is an extremely talented quarterback. I think his arm is if you like Justin Herbert's arm, I don't know how you don't love Jordan Love's arm, except Jordan Love has a better mental capacity for the game, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so I just think that's why I liked him a little more. Green Bay is probably a ready now team to win, but you got to always be thinking of the future. And if you get a player who can come in and, he's a developmental guy anyway, so you get a guy who can sit for 2 years and then maybe be a franchise quarterback, you always pull that trigger, always.
DeAndre Swift out of Georgia goes to the Detroit Lions. Will he succeed there?
I'm going to say no, just because no running back succeeds in Detroit. Simple.
That ain't named Barry Sanders.
Yeah, that ain't named Barry Sanders, like legit. And I mean, that was 98. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
98 was the last. 98 was the last time they had him.
Yeah. So I mean, so the statistics say no, he won't succeed. I mean, the guy's pretty talented. My issue with him is one-on-one in a hole, he's not going to make that guy miss.
Right.
So, and I think you really need that in the NFL. Like, yes, he's explosive and can get outside and in a zone blocking scheme, his cutback ability is pretty good. It's right up there with the tops. But I just didn't see a premier running back with DeAndre Swift. So I think with Kerryon Johnson, it may create a really good tandem. But again, Kerryon's got to stay healthy. So, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's go to, and I'll give a shout to my wife, my beautiful Dr. K, for the next team we're going to look at. That is the Indianapolis Colts. And in the second round, they get Michael Pittman Jr. and Jonathan Taylor. Pittman out of USC, Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin. And you know Frank Reich's mind, always thinking offense, and they have to do a lot to get better. They have to stay healthy, number one. And number two, the players that they pick up to put in their system already, I think will be ready to go.
Yeah, I'm a really, really, really big Michael Pittman fan. You talk about staying healthy. The guy didn't miss a game the last 2 years of his USC career. I'm pretty sure he also only had 5 drops in his entire USC career too, which is insane. The guy's got incredibly good hands. He high points the ball extremely well. You know, he comes from everybody knows his NFL pedigree, but what comes with that is an NFL work ethic usually. And that's what a lot of these college guys are lacking. He's going to come in ready to play football and ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
Jonathan Taylor, I'm not a huge fan of either. I think he's extremely explosive. I do like his running style. I think he has the ability to succeed in the NFL. Guy had 17 fumbles in 41 games at Wisconsin.
Right.
That's a huge no. You cannot do that and succeed in the NFL.
You really can't.
Guys will get booted out of the league real fast. So that's my worry with him. If he gets that under lock, I mean, I think that's a huge home run pick, but I mean, that's a scary, scary thing right now.
Yeah, it is scary, especially when Marlon Mack comes back healthy. And Mack was one of their biggest keys to their playoff run 2 years ago. T. Higgins at the top of the second round out of Clemson to Cincinnati. Immediate weapon for the Bengals, or are they looking for more?
I think it's an immediate weapon for sure. You know, we mentioned earlier, I'm not sure if he's going to get elite or like really good separation in the league like he was able to get in college. But what he can do is high point the football extremely well and be a really good red zone option for that team. And, you know, they do have to think about life after A.J. Green, and T. Higgins might be able to learn a lot and what he can from A.J. and, you know, get his game better, those little nuances of creating separation at the very top of routes and things like that. And, you know, T. Higgins could turn into something special because he has those elite traits. So I like the pick, and at the time he was definitely the best receiver on the board.
Yeah, absolutely. You're shocked that Jamar Chase is still on the board, shocked that not Jamar Chase. Shocked that the Chiefs selected Clyde Edwards-Helaire to close the first round.
A little bit. I thought they should have gone corner. You know, I still think, you know, that team's ready to go. So just improve on what it is. I mean, you know, they decided that another weapon on offense would be worth it. I think he's NFL ready. He's going to step in. He's going to be able to pass protect from day one. He knows those concepts. He's ready to go. You know, that was really important in Joe Brady's offense. You know, also getting out and into routes. You know, he's probably the best receiving back in this class. If not, you know, he's a top 3 in this class for sure. You know, he's just really good. And so I think he fits that offense extremely well. But again, you know, it's a luxury pick, but it's a luxury the Super Bowl champions can take most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Just as the 49ers, they've done it for many, many years. Let's go to Cleveland as we take a peek into the later rounds. Let's look at round 6. Donovan Peoples-Jones out of Michigan heading to Cleveland. My early thought is this. Yes, Donovan Peoples-Jones was targeted a lot at Michigan, but to me, he didn't make that many catches. He really didn't make that many key catches.